1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, 5. We're here. Garden report tonight. Special guest Gary Washburn. Evil Gary Washburn. OG Gary Washburn.
We love it. He looks ready to go.
He was, oh my God, was he mad seconds ago? We had to start the stream because all that good stuff was coming out. We wanted to get it to you guys.
He's already shaking his head. We're 20 seconds in.
He's like, why did I ask? Why did I ask onto this show? Anyway, yeah,
Gary's all I know is this: Jimmy was like a nice young man when I knew him in a previous life, and now he's like Skip Junior Bayless. Like, what the hell happened?
You hang around Zannis too long.
What the hell happened? What the hell happened to Jimmy?
What happened to little Jimmy?
I get blamed for a lot of it.
Gary, bring me back to the light.
That's the problem. I reared him. I reared him over at NBC Boston, and then everything from there.
Gary, you know what happened? Kevin Garnett just scared the niceness out of me, man. That's what happened. Brandon Bass, Kevin Garnett, those guys.
I thought it was Brandon Bass.
I thought it was Bass too.
Anyway, we got a lot to talk about.
It was a few guys, yeah.
We're talking about mysterious back of the knee injuries, peculiar Twitch streams, trade rumors, final post-mortem on the season. We're going to deliver it all to you tonight, be with you for probably about 90 minutes, take your questions, and all that good stuff. The Garden Report starts right now.
Always has to be a shot at somebody.
No. They're never clean.
They have to run. That's the only shot they have.
They do it for 82 games. We're about to find out.
He already has shown what he's capable of.
Did surprise me. I thought we were going to hang in there.
This makes me think that we do need to be humble.
I actually think you're the only one who deserved that beating. And I'm going to start it off here with this comment on the screen just to set the tone for the show. If you MFs make excuses for Brad Mazzulla ball, you're done, CLNS, okay? So just to let you know.
Wow. Guess you don't know a show.
Setting the tone early. We'll start with Gary Washburn, Boston Globe's Gary Washburn, special guest on tonight's show. And again, we got a lot to hit on, but let's just start kind of where we are today with the benefit of 24 hours, 36 hours to kind of digest everything that happened. Where's your head at, Gary, in terms of how this team ended up getting bounced after having a 3-1 lead in the 76ers and everything that we saw that happened during that time?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a series that obviously the Celtics had. We can point to 10 minutes left in the third quarter when they led 63-50, and then I think allowed like a 35-23 run to finish that third quarter, and suddenly it was a 1-point game, and that's when they lost the series. I think that as much as you can look to, hey, they had a great year, and it was a fun year, one of the probably more enjoyable years in terms of the regular season to cover a team because they had a bunch of upstarts and guys that weren't household names and still aren't household names, and they played well. And Jaylen became the player that he wanted to be and all that other stuff. And Jayson came back. You have to view this year overall as a disappointment because they blew a 3-1 lead. And they're the first Celtic team in the history of the franchise, which is 80 years, to blow a 3-1 lead and essentially hand the series of Philadelphia, act as if Joel Embiid came off of, as I said earlier, another planet, like they had never faced him before. Like he was a new version of Wemby or something where it's like, what do we do with this guy? Like he was an alien. They didn't prepare. They did not think he was going to play in this series. I'm convinced they did not prepare for him to play in this series. They got caught completely off guard. They've still never been able to guard Tyrese Maxey since he's been in the league. Edgecombe had his moments. And besides Peyton Pritchard, no one on the Celtics had a really good series. Like, even when they won, Derek was borderline terrible until Game 7, and he was okay in moments. He had a terrible third quarter of Game 7. Joe didn't go to his bench. Joe didn't make adjustments till Game 7. So just an absolute disaster in terms of this series. Like, I don't know how you can just look at this and go, oh, we'll be back next year. Like, you got to make some changes. And now it's 3 out of the last 4 years they've been thumped by a lower seed. And this is probably as painful, I would think, for Celtic fans as the Miami series in 23, because you should be playing now on NBC against the Knicks, like as opposed to watching the Sixers
should be at the
play.
Garden.
Yeah,
This is
should be-
worse.
As
We all
opposed to
should-
watching us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we all should be at the Garden right now, and you guys should be preparing for your post-game show because they blew it, and you cannot overlook that and say, well, they still, hey, the guys still won 56 games. Like, that's cool, but there's no regular season division title banners, no number 2 seed banners that hang in TD Garden. So I think the playoffs was just, it turned into a disaster, and it's going to take some real moves in the offseason to recover from it.
But
So
even
that's,
if-
I guess, the next thing. Go ahead, Sherrod.
I was just going to say, even if they do make the right moves and they look great in the regular season, everything is going to come down to what they do in the playoffs.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. The regular season, who cares? They win 65 games. It's going to be, well, who you guys play in the first round? Are they going to beat you? Are you going to, are you going to lose to Charlotte this time? Like, all the pressure is going to be on them from that game one, whatever series they're playing next year. It's like the next 11 months do not matter. It is all about what happens after April 15th, 2027, because the Celtics blew this one.
Yeah, I mean, we said it last year. The season doesn't start until the conference finals. They didn't
Damn
make it
straight.
that far. And in this case, everyone had their eyes on the second round, whether they get past the Knicks. They didn't get that far either. And again, you keep saying it. Everyone's been saying it. 3 out of 4 years, you're talking about massive collapses against teams you're favored against.
Mhm.
And, the when they did it in 23, Wick went into, Wick berated the team after going down 3-0. And then Wick, brought Brad into his office and said, changes, has to be changes. We know nothing about this ownership group. We don't know how patient or impatient they are with a winner. In fact, we don't even know if they're like, you could suck for one more year so we don't have to spend money, and then maybe we'll start to go in on it. I don't know. We don't know where they're going to be. But who's the guy? If there are going to be changes, is Brad bold enough on his own to say, break up the Jays, trade Derek White, do something dramatic? Because everyone says changes, but when fans say changes, they mean maybe we can go get somebody's really good players for guys we don't want. They don't realize that it means I got to give up something of value to me and then roll the dice and hope that it ends up being better. But I believe, and I don't know what you guys think, I believe in the same way they recognize that core of just Brown and Tatum with Smart and whatever they had was never going to get them over the hump. I think you have to look at this group and the amount of flexibility you have to add around them and say, I don't think these guys can get back. That's where I'm at. I don't know that Tatum, Brown, White, and whatever they have around it right now can get back to where I want them to be with nothing more than picks in the 20s and a mid-level exception.
And it's good that you know that, right? You had the fully healthy
But I'm
roster
saying,
for this round.
I
and-
think I know it. Do you guys feel the same way? Do you think they feel the same way?
Yeah, they've made tough changes before. I keep going back to the Smart thing. Like, that is not something we expected them to do. And they went and did it, along with trading Rob for the holiday. They had that massive transformation after 2023. As Gary said, a similar situation coming off of that year. And honestly, I think I'd be shocked if they don't make a significant move on the roster somewhere. As I've said, I expect Mazzulla to be back. As frustrated as people are with him right now, I think that's almost certain. And then you start looking at the Jaylen question. I think you're going to explore that again. I think you're going to see what's out there for him and how you can potentially transform this roster. I don't think there'll necessarily be a return that warrants moving on from him again. And you probably want to give that Tatum Brown combination another shot here. So that's when you move to White. And we can probably debate what you'd get back at that point for him, given the season he just had. But I'd have to imagine there's still a lot of teams that see him as enough of a connective piece, defensive
You're talking about Derek
mainstay.
White?
Yeah, and the all defensive team, and hitting his 30s.
You
now,
think you get better than Derek White in return for Derek White?
No,
I
but
don't.
you're at this point, I think, focused
I
on
don't.
getting draft pick compensation
You're not going to.
and young players.
But
Yeah,
you think that's what they want to do?
You're not going to get a better
It's
player.
one
but
of their
you
two
may get a better
choices.
fit. I think you might get a better fit for what you're trying to do going forward. And if you can get a better fit and get some draft capital, that makes a lot of sense. The team that, to me, the most obvious team that will make a play for Derek White, to me, is the Utah Jazz. When you look at Danny Ainge, you look at the coach, the guy who, that was Derek's guy in San Antonio. But
They're gonna have a top 5 pick, right?
and they're going to, so yeah, but so there, I think Derek White is going to certainly draw some interest. But to your point, John, I can't see a scenario where the player that you get in return is going to be better than the player that you're sending out.
No. And even like in the craziest Jaylen scenarios, right? We're going to talk about Giannis and other guys there. Like, you're not necessarily going to do better than Jaylen in those trades. Like if you're going to trade Jaylen and Derek or this summer, you're in all probability saying, all right, we're taking a step back and focusing on drafting and development going forward, which fans aren't going to want to see or hear, but it's one of two choices you have. Either a bold splash all-in move like Giannis or taking a step back and focusing on the drafting and development.
Gary, put on your GM hat. What's the first thing you're looking to do?
Yeah, I think you got to make some changes. The question with Derek White is he's 32 this summer. Has he peaked? Is he ready for a bounce back year? Because you can't have him shooting 32% from three. The problem with the system that they currently have, and is the 3-point system is you got to have elite shooters to win and go all the way. They had Holiday, they had Porzingis, they had Horford, who was 37%. They had a better Jayson Tatum, and they had
Hauser.
Yes, they had elite shooters in 24, right? And then let's be honest, they didn't win the finals with 3-point shooting. They shot 33% in the finals. They won that series with defense. Okay, so they lost this series with 3-point shooting and shaky and no defense against Embiid. So the question is, what do you need? And I think Derek is probably your most marketable piece. Do you sell high on Derek at this point? Is it Hauser? I don't think you can run this back. I just don't think you can't. I mean, because as much as the fans love Jordan Walsh, they love Shireman. It's like you can't have those. You can't have Jordan Walsh in a Game 7 needing to hit a corner three. You can't have Ugo at this point in his career. He's not ready. You threw in the not ready for primetime players in the Game 7. So it's like you've got to get veterans, and you got it. To me, I'd bring Anthony back at the mid-level, right? That was the worst freaking trade.
Or never have let him go.
That was Brad's, Brad's blunder.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Brad.
Yeah, it saved him $6 million, and it got him under the first apron because he makes 21 and Anthony Simons made 27. But I don't think Anthony Simons, coming off a year where he was injured, most of his time with Chicago, is going to get. He's probably looking. He thought he was going to probably get 30 in the open market. He might get 15. So why not bring him back? You need buckets from someone who isn't 6'1" in Peyton Pritchard. So to me, I'd go after him, and I would try to see if you can get a reliable big. I don't know. Obviously, we know the playoffs is different from the regular season. The teams next year are all going to. The East is going to be better, right? Orlando's going to have a new freaking coach.
Indiana's coming.
Indiana's retooling. Charlotte's going to get nothing but better. And we even brought up Philadelphia. We haven't brought up the Knicks. We haven't brought up Detroit. We haven't brought up Cleveland. And then
Toronto even had a good year.
Yeah, Toronto, we know is athletic. They're just not very skilled. But and they were missing two starters.
They're missing a lot of
in that series with Ingram and Quigley. So
they went to seven.
The Celtics got to revamp. Like they can't run it back. And Derek and Hauser are probably your most marketable pieces. If you're going to go through this 3-point thing, you got to get elite shooters. But they got to get athletic. And if we saw 7 games of VJ Edgecombe, and that, I mean, you put him with that Edgecombe when he got the ball in open court, like not even Jaylen was like, let that dude go. It's over. Like Jaylen had ankles on him. It was like, it was crazy. It was like watching Deshaun Jackson return a punt. It was like, it's over. Like this dude is done. He's getting to the rack. You need that type of athleticism. Can you get it on the open market, or can you get it in the draft with a 27? Don't think so.
Get me a Thompson twin. You're talking about trading Jaylen for something else, Bobby. We talked about it. Amen Thompson, Oscar Thompson. Can you trade to a team that wants to acquire another alpha or a superstar? Do that and get picks, a young ascending talent. That's always the deal I've wanted to make. If and when you ever talked about Jaylen Brown, I never wanted to go star for star. I wanted to go for the less is more approach, which is bring somebody in who's more of a system player or someone who can do a bunch of different things, get younger, more athletic, cheaper, amass some assets, and then start your little retool on the fly. That's that's how you do it. A gap year, a legitimate gap year would have helped things as well too. You talk about all of that stuff.
I'll say this, John.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off. They also need an old head veteran. Like they need a Marcus, and I'm not talking about Marcus, although he's playing well with the Lakers. They need a guy like Bobby Portis. They need a dude to hold guys accountable. They needed somebody in that locker room. Like they don't need they got a bunch of nice guys in that locker room. Bobby can attest to that. There are a bunch of, hey guys, the locker room is great, right? They need an MF in that damn locker room. They need somebody everybody don't always like. And as we heard in the Doc days, Sherrod, you need a crazy guy on every great team. The Celtics don't have a crazy
agitator. You need an agitator.
You need a Matt Barnes. You need a Steven Jackson. You need a Porter.
I love them.
You need a kind of a guy who ain't quite right.
Don't say Dylan Brooks.
Yeah,
Marcus Morris.
But
Is there a limit?
Marcus Morris. Like, you need kind of a crazy guy. Portis would be a guy I probably would pursue. He's still got game left, even though he seems like he's been in the league forever. Still, I think he's 10 years in. I think he's 31, 32. I don't think he's that old. And a chance to win a championship after. And Milwaukee does not need him with a youth movement. Sorry about that.
Jimmy.
What's up?
Are you ready? Are you ready to move on from somebody big?
I'm ready. Here's my thing, and I think you guys have touched on it all already. I think, and I said it after the game, regardless of what the Celtics record was this year, this is a first-round exit team. And I think if you run it back with them again, and you guys mentioned the teams that are going to be improving going into next season, I still would have them as a first-round exit team. You had a pretty healthy-looking Jayson Tatum, and they had an opportunity to take down that Sixers team, and they couldn't. And I think Gary's right. I don't think they were prepared for Embiid. I think that was a surprise to them. And I was disappointed when Mazzulla just chalked it up to Embiid returning as to like the reason why they lost the series. It was just kind of like, oh, okay. So you just had no answer for this guy. It's not like you haven't had success with him in the past. They've beaten Embiid year after year. They've beaten this Sixers team with the same Tatum Brown led rosters, and they've been creative and they've been able to, they didn't have Horford this time, and maybe that's the difference, but I was disappointed with that. But I think this Celtics team, if you were to quote unquote run it back, I certainly don't see their record improving in the regular season. And I see their matchup being even harder for the reasons that you guys listed. So you have to do something. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say they should do this, and that, but I think everybody but Tatum is I think Brad Stevens is answering the phone. I don't know if he's making calls yet, but I think he's answering.
I feel like this organization has always regarded Jaylen Brown. Look, first of all, if you trade Derek White, Joe Mazzulla is going to go on is going to murder everybody. Like, I know Joe,
it's crazy, right?
Loves Derek, but this Celtics organization, I've never seen anybody love anyone, from Danny, on the way to Brad, as much as they seem to value Jaylen Brown, almost beyond what I think anyone else would value him at. And again, one of the issues with Danny, there was never any trade, is it was the asking price was outrageous. Here. I think Brad is completely dead set on keeping it with just these two guys together, which means you have to make moves around the fringes. So if you're not going to be able to make wholesale changes around the personnel, do you need to import new guys to either play your style or to play a different style? And again, this is something people have been needling at. And every time someone asks a question like the one I'm about to play from Gary, you get some sort of reaction, whether it be from Joe or the fans. This was Gary to Joe. An oldie but goodie after Game 7
of how you got the style. I mean, if it's so blatant where you hit 3-pointers, you win, and you miss 3-pointers, you lose. Like, can you live with that? Can you just continue to do that?
I mean, we're always going to play to the strength of what our roster is. I think is the best way to be able to do that. And again, if you take a look at the box score, they shot 39% from three. So I think going back to duality, it's always funny when we lose games by shooting 26, but the other team shoots 39, and they're like, what are you going to do about it? It's like, well, the other team made 39. You know what I mean? So the duality of, like, you got to make them. They shot 40% from the game. We shot 26. But we're always going to play to the style of the strengths of the roster that we have and whatever that looks like. If we go out and get 5 big men that can post, we'll post it every single time. We go out and get You know, a bunch of guys that do whatever they do. We'll do whatever we got to do to win. You know.
So, Gary, as you said earlier, was this the strength of this roster? I mean, we talked about it in the year before. You did have more guys. Was this the strength of the roster, particularly your input? You're putting guys, like we said, you already have a lineup which was shooting deficient just by having to play Keita at center. You went from either Porzingis or Horford, both of whom could stretch the floor and shoot threes. Then you lost Holiday, who again didn't shoot great as last year, but was a 40% shooter from three the year before. That was their identity. Right. But this seems the opposite of what Joe has said, which is, I'm going to keep doing this because I think it's important. So every time this comes up, whether it's you asking the question, Gary, or it being brought up by fans, we're referred to as casuals for making a mere suggestion that maybe this isn't the best suggestion possible, and everybody loses their minds, and then Joe goes on and spouts off some sort of math equation about why it's the right thing to do, and that's that. At what point do we ever come back full circle and be like, I do wonder whether this is a thing that we need to keep doing. And again, this is one stat and it's 1 year, but among the top 10 teams in the NBA, and you've probably seen this floating around Twitter right now, among the top 10 teams currently in the regular season, the NBA, in 3-point attempts, 9 of them are not playing basketball right now. In the 10th, Cleveland had to squeak out a Game 7 win against Toronto. So what are we talking about here? Like, is this the only way to win? Is this Joe's only way to win? Is it the team's strength? And at what point do we say, okay, it is okay to question whether this is the end-all, be-all answer for everything?
Yeah, I mean, they were 8th this year in 3-point percentage, right? Okay, that's pretty good, not great. Milwaukee was 2nd. Okay, we saw what happened with the Bucks this year. Charlotte, as you mentioned, John, was 3rd. Atlanta at 5th. Like, the Clippers 7th. So does that necessarily result in winning? And the Celtics were 4th in attempts.
Yeah, like we all get math. We all know 3 is more than 2. Like, I understand. We get that. But like, yeah.
No, go ahead, sir. The difference when Joe was like, well, they shot 39 and we shot 26. Well, Joe, they shot 28 threes and you shot 49. Yeah. So 39% shooting 28 is a lot better than 26% shooting 49. And you don't have elite shooters on this roster. Right. Hauser is streaky. Pritchard is probably your best shooter. Tatum would love to be a elite 3-point shooter. He's freaking not. He hasn't been.
Neither's Brown.
Brown's never been. Tatum, remember, I think Tatum shot 43% as a rookie. He's gone down ever since. He's just whatever. It's mechanics. It's weightlifting.
It's volume. It's volume. Yeah, a lot of people shoot well on open threes on lower volume, and that's fool's gold because Garza had a high 3-point percentage this year. Shireman had a high 3-point percentage. Freaking Josh Minot, I think, finished the year as their top 3-point shooter percentage-wise. These are not guys you want to game plan for getting open to shoot threes. That's a losing formula. It's a losing formula, but you have a whole faction of Celtics media and fans who be like, look at the percentages. And I just don't think it works that way in the playoffs, especially when teams are trying to run you off the perimeter or trying to force the ball to guys they want shooting those shots, which is what ends up happening, which is why all of those guys went 0 in Game 7, and Derek White, after hitting a couple, went back to his usual 5 for 16 from 3 and bricking them. The wrong guys are shooting because the wrong guys are out there with the ball in their hands.
Yeah, but they don't. What guys would you put out there that you're like, that guy's gonna knock it down? Like Tatum shot 33% in his return. Last year he shot 34%. He's a below average 3-point shooter. As beautiful as his shot looks, as much as fans want it to go in, it's not going in like it did 5 years ago. In 21, he shot 39%.
Yeah,
like
White 32, Tatum 33, Brown 35, and that was up for him. He'd been lower.
Was a good year.
Pritchard was not great this year, not elite, but 37, it was still really good. And again, the higher percentages were the guys who weren't really playing. And Hauser got his percentage up to 40, and again, I think a little bit of fool's gold. So, what's the thing? are you bringing in people who fit that style? You're bringing in people who fit a
I think
different
you
style.
gotta take fewer threes. You gotta get easier points. You gotta get you can't, John. You can't. You guys know this. You can't win playoff games not getting to the freaking free throw line. Like you can't win. You need easy baskets. What happened in the Philadelphia series? Philadelphia got into the bonus, and and Kada couldn't avoid foul.
That's
like Embiid. It's like messing up the curve. You're doing good till you get in the bonus for 4 minutes left in the third. Then Embiid gets 3 loose ball fouls because I call Jaylen right on this one. He flops when he gets touched off a rebound. Oh my God, boom. They think, yeah, you're pushing the big guy. So he gets free throws and he's getting easy free points. The Celtics work too hard. No one back cuts. No one back cuts. How many times they get back cut by Oubre? Oubre killed him on back cuts because you have to defend that. The Celtics ball watch too much. So they needed someone. I think if they took 43s a game, I think that's great. People are like, you hate the 3. I don't hate the 3. I'm not saying take 7 a game. I'm not saying go back to 1981. Okay? I understand the value of the 3-point shot. I'm trying to explain to people. I'm saying, though, you went 13 for 49 and 13 for 50 in the 2 losses. Like, you can't take a 2. You have 2 of the best mid-range shooters in the game, and Brown's flawless from the mid-range, and so is Tatum. But Tatum wants to prove I'm an all-around player. I'm a 3-level scorer. I can score anywhere. And then Brown sometimes falls in love with a 3. He cut down on his. But you got guys. You had literally I like Bayer Shireman. He had his time in New York. That game at New York end of the season. But you can't have him and Jordan Walsh. You got to get shooters in if you're going to have a shooting style. You need elite shooters. So, John, my answer to you, and it's long-winded, is you got to cut down on the 3s, and you got to get somebody to get you some buckets in a post presence.
But the irony of this whole situation, and I don't know if you guys feel different, is I don't actually know that this Celtics team was equipped to beat you anyway, but with the 3, because as we saw here,
that's what it felt like going into Game 7.
These were not elite defenders that Philly had, but they were athletic enough, and nobody could win a one-on-one battle in this. The ISO stats were terrible. Brown couldn't turn the corner and got really shovey. Tatum not 100%, and honestly, he's not really a blow-by guy, particularly when you put guys on him. Those guys are winning a little bit more with their body and their physicality and trying to get downhill, but they're not turning the corner and getting. They weren't able to win enough one-on-one matchups to be able to get there. They don't have a consistent point. They don't have a consistent post presence, and they don't have a point guard that can break down defenses and create 2-on-1s for you or ball handlers. So you basically have to hope for doubles or gravity when those guys do get somehow into the paint or past the first person, off of a screen and kick for a 3. And that's their best offense. So while it's not effective or wasn't effective, I actually don't know that this team was equipped to beat you another way.
Yeah, let's remember too, they played the slowest pace in the league. So the running we heard about,
and everyone's talking about Tatum's return, Bobby. Like, well, Tatum comes and slows it down. They were the slowest freaking team in the league without him. They said they were going to play fast, and they got out there and they could not play fast. They couldn't do it.
Yeah, and that stemmed from, not being able to rebound early. There was just like a lot of moving parts stylistically throughout the year that I think made them go to some extremes to try to solve stuff. Like, they were going crazy fouling earlier in the year, and I think that came back to haunt them. Like, I think they were trying to force turnovers, and that probably hurt some of their defensive discipline. So there were a lot of different phases and styles of this team as the year went on, but, none of it translated well to the playoffs. They were not forcing turnovers into the playoffs. They were getting offensive rebounds, and it just didn't turn into offense. I think a lot of that is because you're just kicking out for 3s off of a lot of them. And, again, I think the isolation point's a good one, John. You really only got good isolation play from Pritchard into the playoffs.
And it wasn't that good. It wasn't
you...
regular season good, because regular season he had elite isolation numbers. In the playoffs, it was down. So, again,
I think his role fluctuated too.
Yeah, other teams turn up the intensity, things get a little bit harder. And again, this was part of the fear, guys, is, hey, they beat up on a bunch of chumps and a bunch of teams that didn't give a crap about the regular season because the regular season doesn't matter. And when it got to the playoffs and a team tried and a team had athletes, they struggled to do some of the things that they were doing. And that's that. So you have problems philosophically, not just with the personnel roster, but how they choose to run it. I'm not sure Joe's going to be able to. I mean, guys, when Joe says,
I mean, I'm not going to write off a 56-win season off 10 jumps.
I am only in the sense that I don't think it meant anything. But guys, Sherrod, Jimmy,
Okay.
meaning
That's right. That's writing it off, John.
I mean, in the sense that they lost in the first round. It was 7-3. Like, how much?
Right, yeah.
I'm not going to write it off, but it doesn't mean anything. Like that's a classic line. I'm going to use that one.
Jimmy Sherrod, seriously, you heard the answer to Gary there, and he's like, if I had 5 post guys, we would post. I don't believe Joe would do that. Do you believe that?
No. I listen. Joe has a system, and come hell or high water, he's going to stick with that system.
He's berated us before. He's not only told us, he's told us we're wrong. He's told the media outright multiple times. We didn't get enough attempts. He's made it clear the formula to winning is to shoot more threes. That's what I tell the guys. I get mad at them when they don't. The players in year 1 bucked this. Brown would have post-game comments like, I don't think we're going to the basket enough. And Joe's like, no, you're not shooting enough threes. Shoot more of them.
By the way.
Yeah.
No,
sorry, go ahead, Sherrod.
No, look, I don't buy it one bit that if he were forced to go with more of an inside attack off the dribble style of players, that he'd go with that. I just don't think it'll happen. The point that Gary made, and I think this, to me, it's the most basic fundamental thing you can do when you are a team that likes to shoot threes, and teams know that. Backdoor the hell out of teams. Go to the Avery Bradley school of getting buckets. Run your ass along that baseline.
Run the baseline.
I mean, it's maddening to watch them play sometimes. And I'm watching Jordan Walsh, and I'm thinking, if they just had a Rondo-esque point guard, Jordan Walsh might be a 10, 12 point per game scorer. It's just simply off layups. That's it. It frustrates the hell out of me that they don't do something that's such a basic thing, part of the game, that would open things up for the damn 3-point shot so that you get more quality 3-point shots and not just quantity.
I don't know when people got allergic to easy baskets. I think that they're great. It's
free throws. I mean, they're last in
free throws, and getting teams in the penalty and putting pressure on teams.
That
so
was
much
the frustrating thing in Game 7
lob threats. Besides Kata, who catches a lob? Jaylen don't catch lobs no more, or Jayson. Earlier in their career, both of them used to catch lobs. No, you need a young guy. And it could be a raw guy. You need somebody out there who's just a 6'8", runs.
Bring back Rob.
Runs like a deer, and you can just that just plays his ass off. Plays hard.
Dennis, I saw what you did, Bobby.
To me, they gave away Minot. And Minot was raw.
A leaper.
The dude played his ass off. He did everything you asked. He became a 3-point shooter. Joe, and we can talk about this too. Okay, and Bobby and I have discussed this. Why the hell did Joe turn on Garza in the middle of the season? Why the hell did he turn on Ugo in the middle of the season?
On Walsh, on Minot.
He turned on Walsh after the
Turn on everybody. Why did he turn on Simons?
Why they had 5 bad games? No, they didn't. I didn't see it. You could see when that dude ain't playing well. I didn't see it. All of a sudden, Ugo just can't see the floor until Game 7.
Yeah.
How fair is that to him? How fair is that to Ron Harper?
Yeah.
Ron tries. Ron's made himself an NBA player. He's not an NBA starter. Not in a Game 7 that's for you fighting for your life.
That's where I was torn. I want to see him, but as a starter, I don't know.
He's an 8th guy maybe next year. Maybe he can build himself, but you can't bring everybody back and go, oh well, So I sort of agree with John in the sense of, if this season was successful because of all the player growth, it's only successful and going to work if you bring all the guys back next year for bigger roles, because they all took a step forward. If you're going to not play these guys because you're going to bring in veterans, then what did you do in terms of with your young guys, unless you're going to invest in them or unless you increase their trade value?
And how much did we learn in the sense that, again, this is where, going back to, I discount the regular season. It's that we've seen it before. We've seen Pritchard play well in the regular season. Hauser have a decent regular season. Kada in spurts last year play well in the regular season. Then you get to the playoffs and these guys get played off the floor. They can't be trusted for a single minute because things change. That's why rotations get tight in the playoffs, because some of the guys who can do it against inferior competition, or when you want to play deeper and save guys and they can't do it against better competition that's trying hard. So how many of these guys are actually good and how many of these guys were just good playing the Washington Wizards? I still don't fully know. And so I don't know what you have and what you've developed in these guys yet. I'm still a little dubious with that. We're going to continue on. There's a little bit of drama on a Twitch stream recently. We're going to talk about that. I still want to talk about Joe Mazzulla's starting lineup and where that ranks in terms of all-time Boston sports blunders. Before we get into that, and again, I think pretty freaking high. Before we get into that, I do need to shout out our pals, Prizepicks, who are the official daily fantasy partner of the NBA. Official. They made it official.
They did it. They did it.
With the playoffs here, there's no better way to cash in on the high-flying hoops action than Prizepicks, the preferred partner of the NBA. Every bucket, every dime, all that good stuff. Download the app, code CLNS. Get $50 in your lineups when you play your first $5. We've also got cool stuff like a Do It Live 2026 NBA Finals sweepstakes. Pick live squares during the NBA playoffs. You could win a trip for two to the NBA Finals. That's kind of cool. Enter, make a $5 lineup with at least one live player pick during any part of the playoffs. So again, doesn't matter. Do it now, week from now, as long as it's before the finals, during the playoffs, you're good. Live player picks are made after the game is already in progress. Again, you know how this works by now. Download the app, code CLNS right there. Play 5, get 50. Pretty easy, pretty cool. And no reason to not get in on the action. Again, if this is the thing you do, you know how it works by now. 2 to 6 player stat projections can be the same sport, different sports. Doesn't really matter. Whatever you like. I personally, like I said, Jimmy and I didn't do a good job.
We're back to the drawing board.
We could have done better. But yeah, back to the drawing board with this stuff. But you guys will probably have better luck than we do. I hope. Let's check out today's stuff. What do we have on it? There's a game coming up here. Anthony Edwards, he's playing, guys. How do you feel about that?
Feels sooner than I expected.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah, I'm glad he's playing.
He's coming off the bench. He's coming off the bench in this one. So we'll see. Limited here. I might have to go less.
I'm gonna take.
Yeah, I'd go less.
Yeah, I'd go less.
Yeah, I think less is fair, but I love to see that he's out there. I think the Timberwolves, like the way that they just punched Denver, and the way that they went at Jokic, they basically just said, "Listen, you're not gonna punk us. You're not gonna push us around. We're here to play. We're here to fight back." And they did just that. And I
Where's
was honestly,
Luke?
Oh, go more on Luke.
I'm submitting it right now. What are we talking about? Luke Moore. That's so easy. Okay.
Luke
Edwards
Moore,
less.
Edwards less.
Sorry. What else do we like?
That's a high number for Wembanyama.
I can't see.
Yeah,
Go less on that.
That's a high number. All right.
14.5 for Fox.
You like it?
27.5.
Let's go. Submit lineup.
Yeah.
We're in.
That's
what we're playing tonight, guys. Let's go, team. You can follow along with my picks here. At John Zannis is the username. Check it out if you want to get in on the action here with Prizepicks. So, and as we said, sign up today. CLNS code, play 5, get 50. Let's get into a couple of different things here. I do want to talk about that Game 7 lineup once to put a bow on it, because I can't understand the motivation behind it. And I'm looking at 3 possible reasons. And Jimmy, we talked about it, but I'm wondering where you're at with it now. The one was he saw a little bit of energy from those guys and figured maybe it carries over because they finished out Game 6 and he wanted to reward them, or he might have thought it would carry over, which, okay. 2, desperation. 3, arrogance, or some sense of hubris. I can do anything. We'll figure it out. I've been plugging in the right plays and the right, things all year, and this is going to, or some combination thereof. But this was wild, a lineup, Jimmy. Has your thinking changed at all?
No, thinking hasn't changed with it. I had to do a triple take when the lineups were announced. I think it was Bobby who sent the text to me before I saw the lineup, and I was like, "What the?"
I didn't even see
going
Harper
on?
at
But
first. I was like, "Whoa."
And we understand why Sherman started with Tatum being out. I can't figure out Garza. I obviously can't figure out Harper Jr. I understand wanting to do something, but we said this after game 6. It's too late now to do anything crazy.
Right.
You had your chance to make adjustments. And by the way, the adjustments we wanted to see, and we've said this over and over on Twitter now, because there's the people out there that say, this is what everybody asked for. No, it's not. We wanted you to react quicker in game, make in-game
That's what I was
adjustments,
saying.
change some matchups around. I would have loved to have seen Tatum on Embiid. Obviously, it couldn't have happened in Game 7, but I would have liked to have seen how that went, because nobody else could do it. I get wanting to hold Kata out a little bit because Kata was just a walking foul to start this game. But you mentioned it, John. I mean, Garza, Harper Jr. or Gary, they're not starters. Certainly not in Game 7 of these playoff games, and that was too big of a change. When you hear that this starting lineup has never played a second of basketball together before,
That's crazy.
and now they're starting in Game 7,
And then
it just
with
makes
what,
no
an
sense.
hour of
And
notice, Jimmy?
and insult
Like,
to
maybe
injury,
these guys didn't know.
within an hour of notice. I mean, is that how Jaylen Brown found out that Tatum wasn't? Did he find out about the stars at the same time? And then in the end, they combined for 0 points. I mean, that's just, there's just no coming back from, there's no defending that. On top of it all, in the first time in NBA history, 3 starters combined for 0 points. And I know that they didn't go back to Harper after, and they didn't really go back to Garza that much, but you got nothing out of Sherman points wise, which was surprising to me. At least he adjusted for I mean, he really would have been stubborn to go out with that starting lineup again to start a third. They couldn't, because it just put them in such a hole to start this game. And I know they climbed back, but that's the taste that you got to start this game. You couldn't jump out. You couldn't get the crowd into it and really stick it to Philly early on. You gave Philly a reason to feel like they were in control and that they were in the driver's seat and that they could win in Boston, as they already had done. You lost 3 games at home. I mean, where is the pride? Where is that home court advantage that used to be huge? And it's not the fans' fault. It is loud as hell in the TD Garden.
Yeah, they
almost
wanted
every
that
damn
one.
game. Certainly in the playoffs. I really can't understand it. But only thing I can say is that some of those guys were not up for the challenge. And I think that is a coaching miscue for sure.
Well, the big thing for me was the fact that the issue that you went into Game 7 with was no Jayson Tatum. You played 62 games with that issue. You knew how to win with that key player not around. So wouldn't just conventional wisdom tell you to go with the group and unit that you've won with without him on the floor? But you do something radical in the most important game of the season. You play guys who, I mean, it's like taking, some of the best players from your JV team and put them on your varsity for the state championship. No one would do that.
Right.
No one.
Yeah,
And it's
I mean,
not
Harper.
they're not bad players. It's just that for the moment that you are in, they're not built for that yet. And
Remember Ron?
Even as a unit, Sherrod, that unit is not. They don't have any anything to go on.
Right.
It's just not the time.
Yeah.
You want to do that in Game 5 and Game 6 and screw around with the roster a little bit more? That would have been the time to do it.
Right.
You want to go to them. You want to go to them a little bit sooner in game, or maybe stick with them a little. Fine, that's fine too. But to start the game off that way and to put your team behind from the very start, I think it didn't sit well with some of the. I'm wondering if it sat well with some of the players on that. I wonder if Jaylen Brown's looking around being like, "What are we doing?"
Jaylen was saying he wishes they did stuff like that more earlier in the series.
Went the other way around.
I
thought Jaylen threw Mazzulla under the bus in his post game.
Yeah.
I mean, with the lineup,
yeah.
And then just like, why didn't we play like that earlier? I thought that interview. I thought Jaylen's post game was so revealing in terms of like he had an issue with how they approached this series. I thought the starting lineup was an act of desperation from a franchise that shouldn't be desperate. The Celtics aren't a desperate franchise. They played in most of those guys have played in Game 7s. You don't throw Ron Harper Jr. out there. You just, if you want to do anything, you pull Kata, you start Pritchard, you go small, or you start Garza, but you put some offense on the damn floor to compete with a team that's been scoring at you at will.
Right.
So to me, I just thought, Peyton had the best series of anybody on the team. They'd give him the most minutes and give him the most opportunity. If you want to try to take Embiid away from the basket with Garza's three-point shooting, it really didn't work. He had a couple, but he wasn't very good in the series. Do that. And then Shireman, you have him play with his hair on fire and see how that works. But I thought the Harper thing was just extremely unfair to him. I think he's a growing player, and he played 4 minutes. It just didn't work, and you fell behind, 17-6.
Don't you think that they mismanaged Pritchard's minutes, not just in that game, Gary, but how about game 5 when the Celtics were cold as ice in that fourth quarter, historically cold. And Pritchard doesn't come in until the 4-minute mark of that fourth quarter. At that point, they've already given up the whole damn game.
Yeah, it does. I mean, there were so many mistakes made in this series, even in the wins. But you come off 2 32-point wins. That game 4 that looked like they were just, we got you. Philly's done. They're going back home to close it out. And then they gave Philly life. And they just like you guys talk about the home court. Like that's embarrassing. That's just freaking embarrassing. Detroit defended home court yesterday. Cleveland, why is it so hard for Boston to win in Boston? I just don't
mindset.
Get it. 1-3
going back
on,
like
1-3 on the road, 1-3 at home, 2-1 on the road. That's just embarrassing. They lost 3 times in 23 at home to Miami. What is going on with this? And it's been this before. This is like Ime. This is before. I don't know what's up with them playing playoff games at home and not having any home court advantage, even though they have a raucous fan base. I don't understand that.
That one's been baffling for years now. That's where you get into the core a little bit, John.
Yeah. But Gary, does that have anything to do with the guys at the top of the roster there? Setting the tone?
I don't know. You would think, Jimmy, they would be fired up. They'd hit shots. But I just think even when they do get up 22, they don't pounce on a team.
Right.
I remember one time, you guys might have been there, maybe Bobby, it was a regular season game and they led by 30 and they ended up letting the team come back. And Dan Shaughnessy was like, hey.
It was the Hawk series, 2023.
Yeah. And he was like, hey, you guys got to pounce on them. And then, Joe was like, what do you want us to do? Win by 50? And Dan was like, yeah. It was as a matter of fact, yes, build on a huge lead.
If you don't go 30 to 50, they'll go 30 to 10 and make it a game.
Yes.
Why don't you score the 20 more points from that point?
Why you got to be the team that lays down?
Yeah.
I think Joe said it to you too during the series, Gary. It was like, all right, they're up 3-1, and he's like,
Knicks are up 23 freaking points on these bums at the half, by the way. Oh my God.
Crazy.
Anyway, go ahead.
Joe said it to you at one point during the series, Gary. He's like,
spiel.
Everyone thinks we should win in 5. There shouldn't be this expectation of, we got to win the next number of games. But you look at what happens. You give them life in game 5. Tatum gets hurt in game 6. And then in game 7, you're not in position to win. That's what happens when you let series go too long. And that's another thing that this team has done for too long now is give teams an extra game at home. Even the championship year, you gave Miami that first round, game at home, Cleveland round 2. They've just slipped up too many times in these spots. I think another stat that's reflective of that was after that game 2 where they win by 30 in game 1. I think 4-11 or something after blowout wins for this core going back however many years. It's a team that seems to, when they're in a good position, let up a little.
That's why you need a guy. And I don't know if you agree with me, Bobby. That's why you need a body. You need a MF on this team. You got too many. As much as, damn it, as much as
it's not going to be the coach.
As much as Marcus, they got rid of Marcus and they won a title. As much as I think that's a terrible reflection on Marcus because I thought Marcus did as much as he freaking could in a Celtic uniform with his limited skill set because back then Jaylen and Jayson didn't want to take the big shot. So Marcus was like, well, F it, I'll do it.
For better or for worse.
Yes, the leaders of the team didn't want to step up and be leaders on the floor. So Marcus was like, I'll do it. And then it's like, well, we need to get rid of Marcus to,
But
let Jayson and Jaylen fly and all that. And it was
the problem wasn't that, Gary. The problem was those guys didn't want Marcus to be the leader. I don't think it's that well when
the leader.
Smart, but look, this goes back to a thing that's driven me crazy from the get-go. And you talk about what's consistent in each failing that you've had. And you can even look at 22 as they should have beaten the Warriors that year. But let's at least take those last 3. I'm going to say they've lost 4 series in the last 5 years that they should have won, but let's just say 3. The common thread is always going to be Tatum and Brown, and this is when they're entering their primes. These are their prime years, and if they're really the best duo in basketball, they should have more to show for it, and they shouldn't need you to constantly import people from the outside to do the things that they are supposed to do as the leaders of this team. And this will drive me nuts until forever. And the fact that a bigger deal wasn't made out of it, I find insane. But when Ime comes in and he wants captains, and basically the whole team is like, I don't fucking want to be the captain, was the strangest friggin' thing to me that neither Tatum nor Brown wanted the mantle. He clearly wanted to come in and name Tatum and Brown co-captains and have them set the tone for how everybody was going to be and have those guys hold them accountable, and neither one wanted the job. And so Smart does it as the de facto captain. They're like, shut up, we're the best players. Makes no sense. And then out of nowhere, Brown last year just starts referring to himself as a captain when nobody named him captain. So, I don't freaking get it. Somebody offered
I'm the captain now.
No, I'm the captain.
Somebody offered you the freaking job and you turned it down. So that speaks a little bit to.
They try to make Al captain.
I was like, not me.
That's the problem. You don't have
Should they bring Al back?
No, hold on. I want to hear
40,
this answer.
At 40, he's going to give you 50 games maybe.
But I want to hear about the leadership thing.
To me, I think that you need just a vet. And it can't be Xavier Tillman, because Xavier is a vet who ain't done nothing. As much as I like Xavier Tillman.
And granted, he's 45 years old and people should listen to him because he's, but yeah.
He's like 20. He's 28.
I know.
Like you said, he's the oldest. He's a 28-year-old guy with grandkids already. But
he's wisdom. He's got wisdom.
Yes.
Right.
But you got to have a guy who's actually done something. And to me, they need that in this summer. It doesn't have to be an expensive guy.
Yeah. So couple heads up. We want to talk about a few things. Gary Washburn's got a bolt for just a minute. He'll be right back, I promise. Jimmy Toscano is out powdering his internet, refreshing it. He'll be back in just a minute. He'll be back. And
on cue.
We lose Gary.
No, Gary had a prior engagement for a short while. He had to jump off for 5 minutes. He's going to jump back. So I know people out there in the chat have been talking about the Jaylen Brown Twitch stream, and I know it's gotten a lot of publicity. We're going to hit on that next, I promise. We're also going to hit on Jayson Tatum as well, but I want Gary to be part of those conversations, so we'll hold off a little bit. Before we do, I'll let you know, and again, we are thankful and humbled by the amount of not only people who watched that last post-game show that we did, which was honestly, depending on where we finish on repeat watches, might end up being our most watched live stream ever, and that would top game 6 Golden State. It was more than any 2024 finals game, believe it or not. A lot of people tuned in because they wanted to hear
for the rage.
What we had to say. They wanted to be with one another, hold each other, yell at each other, break bottles, support one another. Massive numbers. But we also took in 100.
That's why we're here.
Super chats, which was bananas. So we thank you guys so much for that. And when you do support the Garden Report Super Chat donations, it's divvied up among the hosts. And a lot of you said really nice things like, hey, thanks for all the live stuff and all of this. And so, we do appreciate it. We do have a bunch today. We do want to get to a few of them. So let's kind of throw out there what we have right now. Desert Vulture, hard cap is our greatest opponent. Will Brad be allowed to go over the salary apron? That's the biggest question to me, guys. We don't know, right?
No. We don't. And I
was
think that
hoping that we would talk.
We don't know
about
what Bill's about.
Right. Yeah. That's and that's one of those things that we're not going to know until we're in that moment. And this team seems ripe to at least have those conversations because you don't have a team that's built to win a championship now. And we all know that for this franchise, that's what everything comes back to. What are you doing to get, to get that Larry O'Brien? And we don't know what this ownership is going to do. I mean, the only thing that we know is what we've seen so far, and they've shown a willingness to slash payroll. That's the only thing we know that they are willing to do in terms of.
That's the best way to put it. We have no evidence of anything in terms of ownership's intentions of how they plan to manage this team, other than in year one, they wanted to get all the way under the cap, not under the second apron, not under the first apron, all the way free from all the way under the tax.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that they have proven to us. The rest is words. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not against it because I'm not judging yet, but that's the best way to put it, Sherrod.
And
we have one piece of evidence, and that's that. And all of the other stuff right now, they may be sincere, or it might be a bunch of platitudes about which owner has ever said, I don't want to win. John Henry says he wants to win, but all of his intentions make it clear that he's about, I'm not spending. I'd rather just kind of live with what we got. We don't know. So I am worried. Every time one of these comes through, we have to go do the conversion and see whether or not we're rich. And then we find out it's like $4. So 49,000 something.
Which we'll take, though.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about that tax line, John.
Go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead.
They're probably going to want to reset that thing this year. And so that's where you're going to have to ask the question. No one's going to want to hear it. It's not going to be exciting. And it's not going to put them in a championship.
I know you guys are Googling it right now.
Yeah, it's not going to put them in a championship position. But this might be the year.
Nice coffee.
Not to set up another gap year, Jimmy, but you might have to take a step back this season if you're going to be staying below that tax line anyway, and saying, all right, what can we get for these veterans?
Why go
get
through
into
all
this draft? Yeah, like this is one of the best drafts in years, they're saying. Like, can we get into some advantageous
I'm so glad we don't
draft?
have one of these picks. Yeah.
And so, do you move on from, you start with a Hauser, right? Like that one, I think a lot of people would be fine with. Then you move to White, and then you get to the harder one. Like, how high in this draft would Jaylen potentially get you? And, you reshape this thing around Tatum over the next year or two here. Like, those are conversations you're going to be having if you don't feel like this core can get back into the mix. And you said it, John. Brad, for a while here, has believed that if you have Tatum and Brown, regardless of what's around them, you're going to be in the mix. And you're going to have to ask yourself coming out of this year, were you in the mix because of the 56 wins, or were you far away because you lost in round one? And it's going to be hard to ignore the playoff result here.
Yeah, it is. But this guy, thank you for the super chat donation.
You're in the
SDK,
mix. I mean, you're
SDK 7778. I love this team. Run it back. The run it back after miserable failures never, ever makes sense to me.
Well, you're in the mix, John, in the sense that, like,
finish the sentence, John.
I love Hugo and Walsh. More Hugo and Walsh.
You're in the mix in the sense of, like, let's say Philly didn't get Embiid back, and George was a shell of himself and all that. Like, like that's what you did in 24 to some degree, right? You had a good enough team where, with the right matchups and the right injuries and everything else, like, things can, if you just ran back White, Tatum, Brown, and add some pieces here, and you caught enough breaks, you could be back in these finals. Like, no one's denying that. But is there a long game here you want to play to make this thing a little more sustainable and be in a better position in a year or two?
Yeah,
that's what you're gonna have to ask. The one thing is, like, outside of the Giannis move, which I'm sure we'll debate to some degree here, there's nothing you can do this summer that's gonna put this roster in the position of a Thunder, Spurs, etc. level. Like, there's nothing you can do this offseason outside of getting extremely lucky in the draft that's going to allow you to do that. There's no center available to you that's going to solve all your issues there. There's not, like, bona fide depth pieces that you're going to be able to pay. It's a lot of internal growth.
But you can't get, that's the thing is, like, and this is where I get stuck forever. Again, if you have two of one thing, but you need something else, I have two sports cars, but I need a truck to haul my shit around. You got to sell the sports car. Like that's what drives me nuts is people want to keep improving around the Jays and getting a better big or a point guard that can really, that's athletic and can break down defenses and get into the paint and play fast and increase your pace. Those things don't come cheap. You got to give up something, and people don't want to say what that thing is, which is why I've always kind of been on the maybe you don't need two of them. Jimmy, killing me, killing the boxes
Rocking
here.
Wi-Fi.
Anyway, moving into this one, I think Bobby Manning's leaving his own super chat. I can't see the picture here. Reno Tonelli, Whitehouser picks for Fox. Look, Fox is the type of guy I'm sure he'd be polarizing, but it's an interesting move in the sense that, like, that's the type of speed and pace and type of player that you could use here.
But
I'm sure Celtics fans.
Tatum?
I'm sure Green Teamers will tell me 8 million reasons why Fox sucks, but you desperately need an athletic point guard for pacing. I don't disagree. Back to Desert Vulture, playoff ball different. Every possession has to count. I don't disagree with that. Also, Fox doesn't have a Twitch account. Ding, ding, ding. We're coming back to that. Very good.
Here's the thing about any
good
point guard, ball handling guy they get is they are going to be playing off Tatum to some degree. And, Fox isn't the best catch and shoot guy you can imagine there. So, that's where, like, I'm intrigued by the Giannis thing a little bit. And even that one's imperfect, right? Because you saw Giannis and Dame get together and Giannis wouldn't roll off Dame and give the ball up. He had the ball in his hands, and that's what made that combination so awkward there. So any ball handling guy you trade Jaylen for potentially here is going to lead to the same result, same position you're in now, where you have two ball dominant guys sharing the ball. And, it's like,
well, then honestly, then you have to have a different conversation. And that's the conversation, which is this team going to be a slow playing point Tatum team for the rest of eternity? And if that's the case, then that's the case. So
it seems like your reality right now.
And if you don't want that, then you have to start talking about trading Tatum, and no one wants to have that conversation. So if that's the case, what Bobby said is keeping Tatum assures that the pace moves slowly because he needs the ball in his hands. Well, that's it. Then you decide you live or die with that style of basketball, with Tatum being your point forward, and then put everything else around him, shooters and X, Y, and Z. Or if you want that other shit, then the only way to make it fit is that has to change. And that's a conversation people don't want to have. I hate it, but I would trade Derek White. Again, it's a question of value.
It's enormously valuable.
And a question of whether you're going to get value in return any more than he's bringing you right now. And he is an invaluable member on this team, even if he missed a ton of shots this season and this postseason. So yeah, it's
what were we talking about
one.
last summer? Like 3 firsts and RJ Barrett from Toronto.
Yeah, I don't know. Hard in Boston gets quiet. Yeah, a little bit. Joe Mazzulla is the Ted Lasso of the NBA. I don't get that. Is he you're saying he doesn't know? I think it's the opposite. I think Joe Mazzulla might know more about basketball than anybody on the planet. I don't think anybody is questioning Joe Mazzulla's basketball intellect.
No.
People might be questioning whether it be, and it's not even fair for us to fully question, but if you want to call it stubbornness, if he saw a certain thing and he was certain it was one way and it was another, adjustments, late to adjust, who knows what. It is what it is. Joe Mazzulla is the reason they won 56 games this year. I'll say it. Joe Mazzulla is the reason they won 56 games this year. He also might be one of the reasons they got bounced. Both things can be true, but I don't know about this. Throwing this one out here, Combs 2000, a 20 spot. If they keep the Jays, is there worry about putting the toothpaste back in the tube with JB? How will he feel about going back to off ball? This is a really interesting topic, guys. I think a big topic of the offseason. If JB is to stay year after year, and again, this comment will work perfectly off of his comments and his Twitch stream and everything that we talked about. He got a taste. He got a taste of being the guy. Is he going to be okay not being the guy?
He'll show up and do his thing and play. But yeah, it does come down to how he feels about it, whether that's going to work. Because if everything's going well, everybody's happy and they're winning and it's great, right? But if things go sideways, you probably will start to hear the comments about, oh, we played a certain way last year. We have to do X, Y, and Z. And that's what we've heard over the last 24 to 48 hours here. Even back to game 6, John, his sound after that loss in Philly, talking about the shooting, the shot selection they had playing into Philadelphia's hands. And there's a certain, change in style that could maybe open things up a little bit. And then he talked about how they could utilize his aggressiveness more and all that. So, I mean, you've received a lot of good from that mentality, right? Because I feel like that's how Jaylen's carried himself throughout his whole time here, is that belief, that confidence, that, almost like a excessive level of that, leading him to do great things on the floor. I don't think anyone would have ever expected like how great he ended up playing this year overall. But you also have to consider that Tatum's going to be back in that driver's seat. Like, that's almost certain. And if that relegates Jaylen to a lesser role, I don't know how that goes. And that's something you're probably going to have to get ahead on this summer.
Yeah.
What it's going to ultimately decide this, though, John, is the value. Like, they're not going to trade him because he might be upset about the role for less. Like, they're going to have to be blown away here or see a different direction that they think is going to potentially be better than this now or in the long term. So I don't think it's about how he feels necessarily.
No, they the idea that you're potentially breaking up two guys that good who are entering their prime that's a really tough pill to swallow. But again, as John pointed out, everything comes back to the return on the investment. Are you able to get value both in terms of quality players and or in addition to picks? And for someone like Jaylen, I would be shocked if you're not able to get multiple picks. You may not get the Mikal Bridges deal, but you should be able to do something of value, certainly. A player like Jaylen.
I'll answer this.
Go ahead, Jimmy. It's an interesting topic.
Yeah, definitely. I think we kind of got a taste of Jaylen Brown's feelings on his previous
and we're going to
roles
play that in a minute. Yeah.
Compared to his role this year. So, yeah, I think there would be a little bit of worry about quote unquote putting the toothpaste back in the tub. I don't think that's the role Jaylen Brown wants. I think he's made that clear many, many times throughout this season. And, I think it's going to make the offseason very interesting because and honestly, I don't even know if that's, with this roster around those two guys, I don't even know if that's the right thing for the Celtics to do.
So this dovetails nicely. And again, welcome back, Jimmy. Welcome back, Gary, to kind of what, transpired after the game and a really bizarre Jaylen Brown Twitch stream. And again, I'll be the Celtics fan for a second. He talked about a lot of other stuff. Why are you focusing on? Shut up. Like, you can't make him untalk about the other stuff because I was only interested in this. Okay. You can't not kill 100 people and kill one person and not be a murderer. Like that. He still said these other things. Like you didn't unsay them. And that's what's interesting because that's what's of value. Otherwise a rambling live stream where he's breaking down plays. Sure. There's stuff of value.
Crashing out a little bit.
Within that, he crashed out a little bit, complained about the refs. I also don't care about that. Celtics fans will tell you, well, he does flop. Not the point. Why are you talking about it now? It's not. It sounds ridiculous.
But they didn't prepare for that.
Pushing the blame off of anyone but yourself. You tout yourself as the best two-way player in the league and an MVP candidate. Maybe accountability is what fans are looking for at this point because you blew a 3-1 lead. They don't want to hear about the other guy flopping. Wasn't the time for it. But then this thing, and this is the one that I think the headline was the Embiid flopping, but I think the bigger, more interesting thing is this soundbite, which is now the second time that he's said this exact thing in terms of how he felt about this season.
Special group. So proud of this group and the way we played. I wish we trusted that style of play a little bit more, but I know playoffs kind of shifted our rotations and what we wanted to do. But I'm so proud, and it was my favorite year of my basketball career. One, streaming with you guys, chat, was awesome. Like being able to talk to y'all was like therapy every single day. You know what I mean? I mean, not every day, like once a week or whatever, what I was doing. Just to be able to get on here and give y'all the perspective and kind of, because, these narratives be going left and right, just to hear it from the horse's mouth. But then also being able to just be a part of a group that just, through the uncertainty, came to fight and came to compete and came and went to war. I'll take a team like that any day of the week.
Okay.
So again,
just ask real quick, who's the guy next to him? What a wild guy.
Those are some of the guys we've had on Man on the Street out front of the garden.
I know. So anyway, so favorite
Unbelievable
year.
guy.
The first time he said this, everyone's like, "That's a weird thing to say." Is it your favorite year just because it's about? So again, the plausible deniability beyond what he means.
I'm gonna
by
talk
favorite
everybody
year.
off the ledge off this. Okay.
No,
He said that multiple times this year that it was one of his favorite year. And I think it's a combination. And I don't think you can look into everything he says. If you're going to look into everything he says negatively as a shot at Jayson, you got to look at when he said
Best player.
he was our best player after game 7. Like, no one notices that. Damn, he called Jayson the best player. Yeah, he did. Like, you got to take the positive with the negative. You can't just look at everything as a diss on Jayson. I think he enjoyed this year mostly, one, because of the added responsibility, two, because of the new teammates, that he was able to be a leader. He was able to bond with Ugo, bond with Baylor, bond with Simons. Simons was a really good guy in the locker room, and he was able to be a better leader. The team, no one expected everything, the doubt that all the doubts coming this season. Well, what's going to happen now? Jaylen, all you're going to do is turn over the ball. They're going to win 30 games. Like, all the negativity, and that it turned out to be a pretty remarkable season. So I can understand him saying that. I don't think he's saying, boy, I love that Jayson was rehabbing in a cast most of the year.
I'm not making that. I'm not making that connection.
Jim, here's the thing, though. I hear what you're saying, Gary, but here's the thing I keep coming back to. Jaylen Brown had a season where he was the man. He was the undisputed alpha. And now you're saying you're going to have to go back and share again. I'm not convinced that he's going to be nearly as cool with that as some people think he will be. Because
is next year going to suck?
That's where I'm at, too.
But the thing is, Sherrod, he's got to do it because they're not going to win a title without both of them. Like, that's the whole coherent theme of their relationship. They know how important each other is to their success.
Are they? You think they are?
Yes, I do think they.
You think if you replaced one with an equivalent superstar on another team that it would fall apart? You think those two specifically? If Tatum got Bam here instead of Jaylen, or you got someone else, you think two other guys couldn't win? It has to be Jaylen and Jayson.
I don't think it has to be Jaylen and Jayson. I think that
they don't need each other.
I don't think
if one gets traded for another star, the other guy, you think he's going to be that unhappy?
I think if you put Jaylen in a situation, like, let's be honest, the only teams that are going to let's look at the current salary cap and look at the only teams that are going to trade for Jaylen because of his $53 million salary are teams that know they can't sign a major free agent. So like, look at Washington did with Anthony Davis and Trae Young. Like, it's going to be a team like Utah, Portland. Portland did when they took on Drew's salary. Like, there's no way Drew Holiday's going to sign with us as a free agent, so we got to trade for him. The same, like, it's going to be one of those teams. It's hard for me to believe that at age going on 30, a damn 29 win team is like, okay, Jaylen, here are the keys, have fun. And he's going to get his ass beat in every night and his head pounded in every night, but he's going to drop 30 where he can be in Boston winning games.
But he didn't
going to championships.
He didn't get his head pounded in, though. Like, I think that was a surprising thing this year, is that
because they had. I mean, you also had Derek White. You also had
White
Peyton
stunk all year.
No, but you had the defense of Derek White, Peyton Pritchard.
John. I mean, Gary. I was stunned.
You think this will happen?
He's usually mad at me, which is why he said John. So go ahead.
You think this will happen in Utah? Like,
I'm giving Jaylen Brown a ton of credit for raising up the ships around him.
Look,
I think that's ultimately why he loved this season so much, Gary. He can love the season and not win a championship. He just said that. He said it was his favorite season. I'm not saying it's because Jayson Tatum wasn't around. It's because he was able to step into that role, prove a lot of people wrong, which is what
But
his
he also won
he
Finals
loves
MVP.
proving everybody
But
wrong.
he
And I
also
think he
won
was able to
Finals
again.
MVP and Eastern.
Because somebody had to.
He
Yeah.
did, Gary, and it
But-
still wasn't his favorite season.
Yeah, so that says this season's a different dude. I don't think that
I
says
agree.
like to me.
Let me.
To me, if anything, yeah, because I was the man. I led us to the championship. He's saying that he just had fun. I think being basically.
And that's
bored.
fine.
All right.
And
Let
I
me
also
ask you
think-
this. Let me
That's
ask you
fine,
this
but I think
hypothetical, Gary.
No, real
Yeah.
quick, John. That's fine that he thinks that way, but it tells me that it's not It doesn't need to be championship or bust for him. I mean, it doesn't mean that I don't think he wants to win.
Yeah.
He can go to another team and feel good about leading that team to a lot of wins, and they're proud of the first round exit. I didn't see one guy
My
upset
whole thing
about it.
is, do you really think besides Derek and Peyton, Jayson didn't seem super broken up in his interview?
It was
on Sunday?
stunning how happy they were.
Trust me, I want to talk about that too.
I think some
Go
of
ahead,
these.
John.
I think the fans take it perhaps a little bit harder than the players do.
Of course they do.
Yeah,
Look at
of course
the
they do.
Being a
conversation.
fan is.
Yeah.
Look at the conversation, like you pointed out, Jimmy, on your Twitter. Look at the conversation Jayson had with Joel Embiid after the game, and
I
Jason
hate it.
giggling. That doesn't sound like somebody who's like, I can't freaking believe we lost. I hate this work. I hate this shit. Jayson seemed like, well, you know what? I'll get a full long summer off. I'll get my leg back. I don't think Jayson liked it, but I don't think Jayson right now is just like, man, I don't just leave me alone for a month. Nobody call me. I'm not watching the playoffs. Don't do nothing.
Kevin Garnett used to at least say that's
I don't
how he
think
felt.
this generation of athlete, at least most of them, are tripping like that.
I don't think they are either. It still would be nice to at least do the lovey-dovey stuff. Go in the
Optically,
hallway.
it was a bad look. Optically, it was a bad look. But so, to me, I'm not surprised that Jaylen said this was his favorite year, because I think these guys don't take it life and death like the previous generations, the Garnetts, the Pierces, where they're literally crying. Like what Jamal Shed, when he fouled out of Game 6 against Cleveland the other night, was crying. How often do you see that? That was a dude who really wanted to freaking win. And they ended up winning.
I think Derek took
game.
it tough.
That's
that kind of demeanor from Derek.
That's a general indictment on Tatum and Brown, broadly speaking. If they don't seem to care as much as the fans care, that's a different topic altogether. But as far as this stuff goes, this feels like, this cryptic, dumb like a fox sort of stuff. I didn't mean that. Gary, let's here's my hypothetical scenario. Okay. Garden Report in 2024-25 wins podcast of the year, our biggest numbers, our greatest success everywhere. And Bobby Manning is named the podcaster of the universe. Bobby has a freaking.
This is some alternate reality here.
Bobby has a problem with his throat. He has to miss
windpipes.
6 months, his windpipes, 6 months of the next season. And at the end of the year, though my numbers are down and the playoffs ended early, I'm like, you know what? This was by far my favorite year of the Garden Report we've ever experienced. How is Bobby Manning supposed to feel? How does he take that? Oh, no, John doesn't mean he doesn't like Bobby. John, man, he got to develop
John got to
chemistry
yap
with
more.
Jimmy
Of course
and
he loved
the
it.
fans. No, it's ridiculous. The guy. I mean, what was missing this year that was different? The guy you've played with for 8 or 9 years. How dumb are we to think it means anything other than I got a taste of being the guy for once and I loved it, which is fine.
I've had a sacrifice, which is
are we gonna have to pretend it's anything else other than the first year we didn't have to hear 150 Jaylen Brown press conferences about his sacrifice? It's like. I mean, what are we talking about?
I think the other thing people struggle with here is that they won a championship one year, and regardless of the Tatum stuff, how could this be your favorite season when you won a championship?
You won a championship and Finals MVP. That's everybody's dream. It's such a bizarre conversation. It's such a bizarre take.
And that had a different context during the year where they looked like they had a higher ceiling than a first round exit. To say it one day after you got booted in the first round and struggled doing so.
Yeah. The timing of that switch, all that, if it happened in 2 weeks, I think we all be like, But the fact that it happened less than 24 hours after they got eliminated, and Jaylen brings on fans, and Jaylen, and he's talking about that's something that, maybe his representatives need, hey, Jaylen, this might not be the time for that. And I'm not saying that everything he said was right or not ill-timed. I just am getting to know them and getting to know Jayson and Jaylen over the years. I don't think Jaylen is going to try to take these unveiled shots at Jayson.
I don't think
he just did it at Joe. He just did it. Like, you think Brown? I mean, I think Brown is very clever and very smart about getting out what he wants out there with enough plausible deniability to go, who, me? And he does it a lot. And it's like, that's not what I meant. You guys are just narratives and taking it out of context. I think he's a master at that, Gary. And I think he just did it to Joe.
I think he was intentional with Joe. I don't think that Jaylen is making all these remarks. Do I think that he wanted to be fielded with a bunch of Jayson questions this year? No. Right? Do I think that he felt like he had something to prove, that we have enough despite the absence of Jayson to win? Yes. Do I think he took satisfaction in being? Yes. Do I think that would make the season more fun? Yes. Do I also think his whole Twitch and him branching out to the social media, being this nicer guy because everybody thinks Jaylen's an MF and mean and nasty and he doesn't like nobody and Jaylen's militant and all that? I think that probably added to it too.
But the last thing I'll say, and I put up this comment because it kind of echoes it. Like, Gary, look, he's a smart guy. Everybody knows that, okay? You're a smart guy. There's smart people in here. I don't send a friggin' text or an email if I'm worried that it's going to come across with tone. I'll reread it 85,000 times and be like, this might land weird. Does he not, even if it's not as the phrase they like to use, the intentionality behind it, is there not the understanding that, if I do say this is my favorite year, are people going to wonder if I mean that I'm talking because Jayson was gone? You're telling me that doesn't somehow
I don't think that crosses
float around there?
Because remember that there's that scene on the court where he goes up to Jayson and is like, hey man, I got you. I got George. Or he calls Jayson our best player, which is the first time. I don't know if you remember, Bobby. It's the first time I've heard him say that.
He said, I thought he said superstar. Did he say best player too?
He said our best player.
Yeah, I remember hearing that too. Gary,
hold on. I got it.
I felt great about how our team responded. Obviously down. One of our best player,
you did say best
superstar, Jayson Tatum wasn't there, which could have helped. But I'm proud of my team.
So best player.
You got to take that then, right? You got to blend them.
I take them all. It all.
You got to.
One thing doesn't.
Nobody's talking about that because it's juicier to have him rip. I just think Boston.
To me, Gary,
they've been together damn near 10 years. We got to stop looking for how they hate each other. Unless it was a 30 for 30. They've been together 10 years.
That's not where I'm at with it. That's not where I'm at with it.
Let's let this.
Where are you at, Jimmy?
I'm at with it where, to me, it doesn't matter if it's Jayson Tatum or Anthony Davis.
I thought he did the same thing to Derek White for the Olympics,
or Luka,
but anyway.
or whoever. I think why Jaylen Brown called it his favorite season is not because Jayson Tatum was out. It's what happened because Jayson Tatum was out. He was the number one guy. He took on that leadership role. He took on that big brother role, and you could see, Jordan Walsh following him around, and
he saw people coalesce around him. Yeah,
he became that big dog, and now
that's not a bad. That's not really necessarily a bad thing. That's. Listen, I'm glad.
Honest, and Bobby knows this as much as me. Jayson ain't that dude on this team. He's not like the unquestioned leader. Guys don't follow. Jayson has his crew. Right. Nick Sang,
Emil.
Brad, Jayson has his crew. Most of them is the damn coaching staff. Jayson he rocks with Derek. Those two guys are close. The rest of the guys, he's good. I'm not saying he's a bad, he's good with them, but and he had some nice props for Ugo when he was hurt, called him a bad.
Oh yeah, when he stuck his head in the door.
Yeah. But Jayson, I think we're misinterpreting. Jayson was this unquestioned leader, and Jaylen now emerged. Jayson was.
It's an encore thing for me.
Jayson's to himself. His crew is Nick, Brad, and Emil Jefferson, and That's his. Those are his guys. Like
They traded all his buddies.
yeah, like so.
Guy, but Gary, that's
is
the thing is, it's not. I'm not angry. Just bad judgment. Like it's easy to yell and scream just because it's the theatricality of the show. And I do think some people rage out around it. Like I'm not like Jaylen Brown's the worst guy in the world. I just don't get it. Like I don't get what is gained by either doing
I
that
agree.
on it.
I agree. At the timing is terrible. Like I agree.
People are mad, and people, for what it's worth, there's a lot of Celtics fans that fully believed in the Jaylen Brown ascension this year, fully believe he's a top 5 MVP candidate this year, first team All NBA, and capable of leading a franchise after what they saw him do this year. And then
I think he believes it, John.
Then they saw him revert back to
believes it,
2021 Jaylen Brown, the worst version of himself, and not come up big when all they needed were a few plays from, their best player or their best player this year, didn't get it. And then to not have that sense of like feeling bad, the accountability, and it comes from both the guys. You mentioned Tatum too. Tatum, not only the whisper, the Embiid's ear, but like the press conference, like, I'm just glad I got to play some this year. Like, really? That's what you're glad about?
And Bobby was there, but neither of those guys seemed broken up after game 6.
Yeah.
When it was like,
No.
when the series was even, Jayson went, we go, like it was like.
And I think some of that comes from the
Joe
coaching
too.
too.
It was like, what the hell, guys? You let the series be tied. Like it's one win and go home next time. You messed everything up. You've botched this whole thing. And after
The
game
urgency
6,
wasn't there.
no, from none of those guys.
No.
It was messaging from the top that it's okay. It takes what it takes. If the series goes long, there's nothing wrong.
I'm glad you said that, Gary, because we're watching we get the one or two guys that go to the podium. We can't really get a good vibe of what the locker room feels like after these losses. It sounds to me, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that it just seemed like just another loss after the game. It didn't feel like the moment did not match the reactions in those locker rooms after these.
I didn't see. Peyton took it on the chin.
Yeah.
Both games.
I think Peyton handled things
and
great.
7. And then Derek, after game 7, was really down and he put it on himself. And I think that's one of his weaknesses is his lack of confidence just freaking shows so much.
Yeah.
And at 31 years old, almost 32, you can't be that. Like you got to fake it until you make it.
Yeah.
But after game 6, Jayson and Jaylen and even Mazzulla were kind of matter of fact. It's like a March loss, that maybe, a March loss of a game they should have won. We blew a 10-point. Like they were kind of matter. Like it's just another game. We got one more. Hey, we got, we'll be ready. Like that was my mentality. They didn't look like, man, we got to get this done. Like, we got to go home. And Sherrod was there for Rasheed Wallace's prediction, like, we going to win game 7. Like, there was nothing like, no confidence. They didn't give any confidence to the Celtic fans that they're going to get it done in game 7. We tired of messing around.
And that's the feeling.
Even if you lose the game, have somebody with enough balls to say, you know what? We going home. We handling business. I'm gonna challenge all my guys. Who on the team does that? Nobody. They walked into the locker room, and then once they found out Jayson wasn't playing, oh boy. And Jaylen.
That was bizarre.
Do you believe that Jaylen found out 45 minutes?
Yeah, I do. I don't. Yes. I mean, I don't think he's lying about that.
No, I don't either. It's kind of, it sounds a little ridiculous.
That wasn't, I don't know what the secrecy is, but
that was another weird thing Joe did all year, not telling guys when they're starting or when they're sitting, and like the whole injury things, the way they've handled those in different spots. Like that worked during the regular season, but then in game 7, it just, I'm sure, go up to Ron an hour before the game and be like, you're starting, and Jaylen doesn't know Jason's not in there until that time either. Like that's a lapse in preparation for a game of that magnitude. Like they did not have the proper preparation for what they were going into.
I'll say this too.
Not.
Remember after the 23 season,
off the website.
Remember after the 23 season, everybody said Joe's got to get some help. So they brought in Van Gundy. They brought in Charles Lee. They brought in Sam Cassell. Like maybe there's too many yes men with Lee and Van Gundy gone. Maybe there's too many yes men on that coaching staff. Maybe he needs another veteran coach to go, Joe, don't do this. This is not the way. Like, that holds him accountable. I don't know how many yes men, you hired Emil Jefferson, who's basically Jason's buddy, a nice, good guy, good guys. But Joe's guys on the guy from West, Joe's from West, the guys from West Virginia, like there's a bunch of
God and
shit, like there's the
they're
guys who just put their head down.
Him.
Yeah, they put their heads down and they do their jobs. Like, my job is to work out Sam. I'm working out Sam. Like, who besides Sam Cassell is there to be like, Joe, this ain't it, man. Like, you don't want to start Ron. Like, who's holding Joe accountable, maybe besides Brad? And I don't know if Brad's getting involved in these decisions. Maybe Joe needs to shake up the coaching staff and bring on another dude, a veteran, former NBA coach, who can sit there and be like, Joe, let me hold, because
you like Jamal Mosley.
I love Jamal Mosley.
Yeah, somebody like if it's a Charles Lee, who helped obviously with the championship team, or Van Gundy, who stood back and said, okay, this is what I'm noticing here. Like, maybe Joe, needs some more guidance, because this coaching staff doesn't know who's holding Joe accountable, who's talking Joe out of these decisions, who's saying, Joe, you might want to pull aside Josh Minot because he has no idea why he's not playing, or you're yelling at him, but maybe you pat him on the back, or maybe the same with Ugo. Like, we never found out, Bobby, why Ugo got pulled from the rotation in the last month of the season. Did Ugo have 5 bad games? I didn't see him.
And
no,
wasn't a lot of explanation.
Just a numbers game. Well, let's ask you guys here
real
again.
quick.
Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead.
Because Gary, you were talking about guys coming in out of the lineup and relationship. I think maybe coach-player relationships a little bit. Is it strange to you to see? I'm just going to ask. Was it strange to you to see Mazzulla and Derek White like out at wrestling, and then there's other players who are getting benched for months, and obviously they're not the same. Like, you've got a rookie or a career, journeyman type player that gets benched. Maybe we don't know why, but I'm sure they know why. But then you also see the coach going out with the players, and it seems like they have a very close relationship, which is fine. But is there blurring the lines there at all? I mean, would you ever see a situation where maybe a player would say, okay, I guess, Derek White has the biggest leash in the world this season, and I just got benched for 2 weeks, and I'm not even sure why. No one's actually mentioned it to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's interesting. I think Joe has a clear lenses enough not to play favorites, but I also think he gives guys longer leashes. And Derek's one of those guys he has a deep amount of faith in. Where the younger guys, he doesn't have faith in them. Like, we've definitely covered coaches in the past who did not like young players. And Joe is not on that list at the top of the list, but he, I just don't understand the Josh Minot thing. They just gave him to Brooklyn. They just gave him. They didn't get anything back for him.
Isn't it money?
No.
Money.
No. Yeah, it was
money.
Salary thing, but it's like,
It was
hey,
the last little bit.
you want a 22-year-old player for absolutely nothing return? Like,
Yeah, money.
He had some good games in Brooklyn,
but you got Max Shulga you signed him to an NBA deal. I still haven't seen anything out of him. Like, what is he doing?
I couldn't pick him out of a lineup of one.
Max Shulga, like Amari Williams, you could see the future.
He could be on the show tomorrow and be like, oh, the new
Yeah,
Celtics report.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
They signed him to an NBA contract.
That's the first of the
He
floor
was on
guy.
the playoff roster.
They left
Like,
little doubt about what they were doing.
I don't
with
understand
the
what
finances.
you could see. Ron Harper, you could see the potential maybe in Amari Williams. He's a 7-footer. He needs some work. But Shulga, like they signed him to an NBA deal. They couldn't do that.
The front office deserves some criticism and ownership all the way down the line.
But let me ask you guys again, so Joe, nobody thinks that Joe's job is in jeopardy, but how accountable should he be held?
No, and I don't think it should be, by the way.
How accountable should he be held for their recent postseason failures? And again, we're talking about 3 out of 4 years, with the 4th year being a championship, losing when your team is the overwhelming favorite, and also absolutely doing one of the craziest things we can remember a head coach doing in a Game 7 situation in this one. Now, we know Brad likes Joe. We know Joe. And again, I give Joe the biggest chunk of credit for my biggest slice of credit cake for how they played this year. Most NBA coaches can't get their team to play hard 78 out of 82 games, which is basically what they did. They outworked their opponent almost every single night. And you got a lot out of people who a lot of people thought were scrubs and we'd written off, and again, castaways from other teams, Minot, Garza, maximizing what you got out of them. Walsh, Baylor, we thought those guys were toast, real contributions. And then the playoffs happen. And again, questionable decision-making X, Y, and Z. At what point does this hurt him? Does this start to chip away? I wouldn't say hot seat, but like another playoff exit, and is Joe Mazzulla all of a sudden they're going to rethink what, or does Joe need to change? Is there a talk with management where they'd be like, Joe, we love most of it, but in order for you to be what we need you to be, we need this too, whether it's a communication style, whether it's not benching guys for a month at a time, or not being stuck on one style of play. I don't know. Brad may love everything that he does. Do you get there's any feeling there that there's anything that Joe is doing or has done that might be kind of sitting sideways with upper management?
I think
we never know. Sometimes
about
you're surprised. I remember like Bruce Cassidy was fired and everyone was like, what? Because everyone thought he was a great coach. It turns out the players hated him. But that's
Brad
not the case here. The players love Joe.
Brad's defending him every turn. And I do think there's a lot to love here, especially from the year they had. And the thing that stood out to me the most this season is just how players around the league raved about him. And I, go back to the Giannis thing in particular, because it feels like Giannis wants to play for Joe. Like that's the level of praise he had for him in some of his comments late in the season. So I think that matters, and that's important for attracting players and all the way down the line. So as frustrated as you can be about several of the postseason losses here, and there's a clear, I think, playoff track record question you have with Joe at this point that is going to force them to tailor their approach to some degree here. But I do think he's the right guy for this position. I think Gary's point about bringing in an assistant who can challenge him is a valid one, even if it's someone who is in that Jeff Van Gundy role, who's maybe not on the staff, but is just in the building and is part of these conversations. Maybe things can be a little more collaborative between the front office and, the analytic department, which is obviously a factor here too, and the staff. Like they just need to be on the same page about what they want to do here. Because, you mentioned the Simons Vucevic thing. I think undoubtedly part of the reason that Simons ended up out the door at the deadline, beyond the salary stuff, which is obvious, is that Joe did not play him consistently and probably wasn't going to play him when Tatum came back. So I think all that stuff could use a little bit more cohesion. And I believe in Joe. I believe in a lot of his philosophies, a lot of the success he's had here. The development thing this year, I think, is something I go back to too. A lot of players that you weren't sure about made strides. Ugo succeeded when you weren't even sure he was going to come in and play. So, this is the thing I have the least doubt about here. Like, this is a coach who's had a lot of success in the regular seasons. In these playoff positions, though, it's going to come down to him to learn, or for someone else to be there to have a powerful voice on that coaching staff. And, you're always wondering how a coach is going to feel about that, right? Especially an outsider who he maybe doesn't know. But they need it. Like, I think Gary's 100% right there. They absolutely need another powerful voice on that staff or in that building.
I think I'm going to go back to a movie called New Jack City, and me, John, and Sherrod are probably the only ones going to get this reference. When the police raided the Carter, and Nino Brown goes to the G Money, who was running the Carter, and let the infiltration happen, and puts a knife, wipes a knife with blood on him, and says, "This can never happen again." And I think that's Brad going up to Joe and saying, "This what happened this year, losing to the Sixers, can never happen again. We're never going to lose a series 3-1. We're never down up 3-1. We're never going to lose we're not going to ever be a 2 losing to a 7. Like, this can never happen again." It happened against Miami, and and that Knicks team was very good. So I'm not going to turn on, they were just so heavily favored against the Knicks. Like, they had home court advantage, but that was a good Knicks team, right? But this one, and the fact that Nick Nurse literally has thrown in the towel late in the third quarter of this game, and they're down 34 at the end of the third, like, that makes it look, Celtics fans feel even better. I'm sure.
Unbelievable
that Philadelphia is completely getting their doors blown off.
I'm thrilled about that, by the way.
But to me, I think Brad goes up to Joe, and they have hard conversations, and Brad says, what do we have to do to make sure this never happens again? And I think Joe looks in the mirror and goes, this can't be just part of our quote unquote process. Like, no. Look at David
That's the
Allen.
thing, Gary.
Look
Like,
at
the
David
messaging's
Allen.
so bad.
It's confusing.
But I don't get it. It's like,
well,
you know,
we're
how
never
many-
having expectations for how any series is supposed to go.
This is as
No,
like this
it's
feels
the-
as
it's
empty
the
as the
whole-
a
championship.
16 is
Psychi-
a 1
Yeah.
is not supposed to lose to a 16. Like
But
the
again, does
Virginia,
Joe-
what's his
does
name?
Joe
Tony
hear that?
Bennett in Virginia was not like after losing to Maryland, Baltimore County. Well, it's just not the way it. But who knows? Like things
Shots
aren't
didn't
supposed to-
go in.
Yeah, shots didn't go in. That's why we lost to a 16. No,
does
you're
Joe
supposed
hear
to beat
that,
a
Gary?
16. That you wear that. Joe has to wear this for the rest of his tenure here. You lost to a 7 up
First
3-1.
Celtics coach to blow a 3-1 lead.
One lead. You have to wear that. So Brad goes to Joe and goes, it's probably in a nicer way than Nino Brown did to G Money, but it says, what do we have to do to make sure this never happens again?
Right.
What do we need? How do we work together, Joe, to make sure you're more prepared for the playoffs? And maybe that is, as we talked about, adding another coach. That's personnel. I'm sure Joe will keep it real. Well, this is why I did this. This is, I didn't want to really, throw a guy under the bus, but I'm throwing this guy under the bus. Like,
Why did we say we didn't prepare for Embiid? Like that.
I don't think they meant that. I said this before.
That comes right from Joe, in my opinion.
But I don't believe it. I speak
No, I don't believe it, but why would you
I
even say
speak
that?
evasive coach and athlete. I know what they're trying to say is it doesn't matter who's on the other side. We're gonna go and play our game. Like, I don't believe they didn't factor for it and were completely caught off. It doesn't mean
Well, it sure looked like they didn't.
it doesn't mean they had a good plan, but I don't believe the words really actually mean they were like, I'm not even going to bother playing anything different now that he's in there. Of course it changed things. They just didn't do it well. But I really don't believe they were like, oh shit, I didn't even realize he could return. Like, I really don't believe
John, I don't think they thought he was coming back in the series.
I really?
No.
I think they were confident he was coming in like late, if at all.
Yes, maybe 6 or 7. Or if they got ahead by 3-1, he was like, they were going to be like, you know what, Joe, we're down. Don't bother. Just get an off seasons of rest. And then he looked terrible in game 4. He was taking a bunch of jumpers.
And everyone got
them.
cocky.
The fans were like, oh, boo, you suck, Joel. Then he got it together in game 5. Like, that's when the series turned around.
And the adjustments were nowhere to be
Minimal.
seen. I mean, Gary, am I wrong? Do you think they should have tossed Tatum on him?
Yeah, they should have played small.
Yeah.
The
You got to
fact
make
that
them
you,
I mean, why
get them
didn't they?
tired.
they left the
Endurance-
biggest adjustment in the
Endurance
series
is his biggest weakness is endurance. Like, make him live that. Make him go out make him chase Tatum at the 3-point line, or give Tatum an open lane, or how about challenge him?
difficult.
Quit acting like he's freaking Dikembe Mutombo. Like that block on Jaylen was great, but challenge his ass. Get his ass in foul trouble.
Put him in space. Yeah,
How
they
many
did
fouls? How many fouls did he have in the series? Like, I could look that up. I don't think he in the 4 games he played, he probably had 10 fouls. And
these are the things that
for
matter outside of
for
shots
Cada,
coming in
that
and out.
was for Cada, that was 3 or 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Like, that's the frustrating thing too, Gary, about like, oh, they made shots and we didn't. Like, you get 2 fouls on Maxey at the start of game 7, and you're sitting there saying like, all right, he's in foul trouble, but the Celtics aren't going to make him pay. Like, they don't get guys in foul trouble. They don't target effectively players who are in that position. They don't get guys off the floor. That's something they've struggled with throughout Mazzulla's tenure. And we know why, because they're a jump shooting team that don't have a lot of other things to go to. I think they developed decently some other things they can lean on this year, but can you force Embiid and Maxey off the floor in foul trouble? Can you get to the free throw line? Can you force turnovers? These are things that the Celtics not only have struggled with, they've been one of the worst teams in the league under Joe at doing these things. And it's almost like, sometimes when he's talking about it, it's like, we're not going to do these things. Like, you got to be last in the league in free. And that was one of the things Jaylen talked about on the stream last night too, John. Like, he was discussing the lack of free throws like it was a conspiracy for this team. But no, it's the style they play. Like, they do not go to the rim ever, so they don't get to the free throw line ever. There's a perfect parallel there.
By the
Yeah.
way, Embiid had 10 fouls in 146 minutes in the series.
Unbelievable.
That's 3 full games. 10 fouls.
Yeah.
Like
For a guy that's involved as much as he is, that's crazy.
146
John,
minutes.
I want to
Put him
give
in-
my Mazzulla take.
Put him into action
ahead,
a
Jimmy.
little bit. Make him get maybe 3 fouls and or try to go 4. He had 10 fouls the entire in the last 4 games.
Mhm.
Like you didn't make him work.
So I want to say just real quick, I agree with Gary that of your movie reference. I can't recall the scene, but your point stands. Is that I think Stevens and Mazzulla are going to have a sit down and they're going to go over exactly what went wrong in this series and how it got to that point and why it shouldn't have. Where I fall short of saying Mazzulla is out is because I think at that point you would be punishing Mazzulla for his regular season success. I think you strip the roster, you put them in a position to lose games, and Mazzulla coached the hell out of this team all regular season long and put them in the 2 seed, put them in a position to, ultimately get upset, I guess you could say, to a Sixers team that was finding its stride and finding its health at the right time. But I don't think you punish Mazzulla for the success that he had with this roster this year by firing him, because I think if they had missed the playoffs, he doesn't even lose his job. A lot of people thought they were going to miss the playoffs, I think, or if they ended up as an 8 seed or a 7 seed and lost in the first round, he doesn't lose his job because they kind of met expectations. They were supposed to lose. They were supposed to end up with around a 500 record. So because he coached the hell out of this roster and got way more out of them and got way more out of these reserves than anyone thought, you're going to can them because they kind of came back down to earth at the wrong time. Yeah, I agree.
They are who we thought they were.
The series in a vacuum, there's a lot of reasons to be upset with the way it was coached. And if you go back and to look at some other playoff series and say, okay, there's a little bit of a troubling trend here. That's one argument. But when you combine it with this year's regular season, I think that prevents you from making any sort of, it should prevent you from making sort of any drastic move like that. I think that would be really short-sighted. And I think it would put a bad taste around the league. I think if they saw that's how that they were going to treat the head coach, who really, I think, got a lot, as much as he possibly could, out of basically this entire roster. I don't think there's many guys that you could say, I mean, I think Derek White aside with the shooting, but I think Derek White still helped you in a lot of other ways. And I think Mazzulla did the best he could with the roster. And I think, if I have a bone to pick, it's with the in-game adjustments. It's with not adjusting the style of play, not changing matchups in game. That's where I think you could definitely learn and grow from. But it's not enough for me to say, you're out, let's get somebody else in here. Because I think that he did have so much success this year.
I don't think, I'm not, I've never.
I know you're not.
We've got an amazing, Joe and I have had our share of ups and downs, and I've never, ever called for his firing. Never.
I know you have.
I've never done that.
I'm only talking about the fans who are,
I know fans are, I don't think they should.
Reactionary.
I don't think he deserves to lose. But I also think he's got to look in the mirror and go back to the lab. And him and Brad need to consult on what went wrong, and this can never happen again. Like losing in the first round, unacceptable. Losing as a heavy favorite, unacceptable. Like they need to make 26-27 is going to have to be their year. Like that's.
I think he's got even more cover than that, Gary, because I think Brad told us all at the beginning of the year, we're not really trying to win this year, but we're going to make the best with what we have. And ownership made it very clear with all of their moves that was the key, that the goal here was resetting. And then hopefully the guys we have here are good enough for us to be competitive. Nobody said finals run, 2 seed, deep playoffs, competitive. I think we could be competitive. I think Joe did Brad a favor and did ownership a favor the way he coached this year, getting this team to be as good as they were, because it made fans believe that they're closer to their goal than they might have, than they themselves
great
might
point,
have
John.
thought. So
they're probably
I
happy about
believe
the outrage
Joe,
right now.
They love what Joe did. They love that fans consider that this team was better than this, because deep down
people
they're
are
like,
actually disappointed.
I didn't think we were this good. This should have been a season where people tuned out halfway through. So they did this. And again, I've said it a million times. I think a lot because of Joe. So not only do I think he's safe, I think they can't believe how good a job he did this year with this group, what they saddled them with. Another coach could have been like, what am I supposed to do with these guys? And thrown up his hands and been stubborn about it. But instead he made it work. And some of it was weird and some of it was tough love with certain guys that he'd sit for long periods of time. But if you didn't do what I needed you to do and told you to do, you weren't going to play. He made it perfectly clear. And again, above and beyond. So Joe definitely safe for this year. But again, you're right. Another playoff collapse could be an uncomfortable conversation for sure if they're not already going to have it this offseason. We do got to get to a couple more super chats here. I'll start with this one because we just talked about it. Sorry, but it's time for a coaching change now. We've all decided that is no, but thank you, Dancing Dog, for the contribution. From Avic Jr., is Wick experiencing seller's remorse? I don't think Wick had anything to do with selling the team, and he's trying to hang on as much as he can. Hey, guys.
He's hanging around.
Wick's just happy when the key fob works every day. He goes back in. All right, I guess I'm still.
This is awesome.
He did not want to sell the team. He did not want to sell the team.
No, clearly not. Dad, come on, Dad.
Yeah.
Come on, you promised.
Yeah, you said I could keep it. I want a pony. But yeah, no.
Wow.
We need Aaron Gordon badly, do we?
So does Denver.
So does Denver. I got to throw this one out
Aaron
here
Gordon would be sweet. I'd love Aaron Gordon. I think that's exactly a vet you could use for sure.
Yeah, you could. Every once in a while, shit like this happens, and it blows my mind. 200 bones from Nordy Speaks. Are we simply waiting for the Cooper Flag era? Yeah, I think so.
Wow,
that's gonna happen.
You, Nordy. I'm going to assume that's a season-long gift, so appreciate that.
Yeah, that's going to happen. Cooper Flag is going to happen.
Yeah,
I'm certain of it.
You think so?
Yeah, 7 years.
Absolutely. Yeah, in 6 years. Yeah,
that'd be
absolutely.
Unbelievable. He's the real deal.
We'll be here.
Yeah, thank you, Nordy.
Skyrocket.
Very generous. We appreciate it. X3 1739. Not a fan of Jalen Hero Ball, but why is everybody ESPN refusing to engage with the substance of the Embiid flops claim? Break down a game and tell us fans what is a flop, what isn't. I think everybody knows a flop when they see it, guys, right? Like, I don't think people like it. I think Jalen's not wrong. Jalen did it with SGA, you remember? And again, Jalen's very clever about making sure that stuff gets out there. This stuff, while it might earn him some derision here from certain fans because of the timing, he's pretty good at getting people to talk about the thing that he wants people to talk about. And he did it with SGA. That's not basketball. That's not basketball. You could hear it in the open mic. And he's got, and that starts conversations. Like, it's not basketball. You don't think that there's going to be a huge conversation this offseason, guys, about flopping and or foul baiting that's going to result in a rule change? I think there will be.
Yes,
they need there to be, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy right now.
I mean, there's just certain players. Embiid likes to fall. Like, he's fine with falling.
He's the biggest dude in the world. He's on the ground 15 times a game.
Let's be honest. Like, if Embiid is like the king of falling, Neemias Queta is like his prince, because Neemias Queta falls. Now, that's just kind of probably from lack of coordination. I don't know if that's from like floppy. I don't think he's a flopper, but Embiid knows when to fall, how to fall. Like, you know, and that's it's an art. Just like SGA throws out, like I think Jalen was frustrated by guarding SGA in the game in Oklahoma City because he throws out his arm, and then guys make noises. Even though like, dude, nobody hit you. Like, I'm sorry, Jimmy, and I'm sorry, Bobby, but from Friday, man, it ain't even wet over there. When the guys, you know, and Sherrod knows exactly what I'm talking about. Like, quit crying. Nobody touched your ass. But that's guys, they fool the refs. They go up, you hear it in the game. It's like, man, he didn't get hit. He screamed, and that Scott Foster, you know, like, to me, it's guys have learned how to master and fool the officials. Flopping, yelling, when they sense contact, they scream out. Like, you got to. That's why, like, you got to kind of ignore it. That's why I think the game's got to go back to being more physical, like the playoffs.
There's a rule against the flopping. They just don't enforce it. It exists. Just nobody calls it.
Remember that? The fines. We're gonna get
they
you
used
guys.
to. It's gone now.
They don't. It's very weird. I think that's more going to be the case. Is they're going to try to make an emphasis on enforcing it, if not changing things. But again,
So many
resulting
issues in the league right now.
Yeah. A couple more super chats. We're going to get to our final topic of the day.
Whoa.
Another
Nice.
50 spot here. Do you think the Celtics overvalued White last year? Should have moved him. Raptors offer was Barrett with and 9 with young bigs.
Number
Again,
9 pick.
I don't know if that was real, but yes, I would have done it. I would have absolutely gone backwards with younger assets because we thought
We'd be
this year
talking
was
about
gonna
the
be a gap
draft.
year.
We're talking about the
Yeah.
lottery right now.
Yeah.
We did.
We
That
would
was the
love
year
that.
to do it. I don't know what you do now. Honestly, don't.
I don't. Now you're stuck in retooling around the Jays because you didn't get an asset. Philly gets Edgecombe on a soft tank year, and you're like, I'm going to be picking in
You
the
still-
20s. That's cool.
You still have the
Yeah.
option to get into the draft by trading certain guys, and again, you have to
You
hit
didn't have
wherever
to,
you're drafting
Bobby, but
from.
You wanted to have fun.
No, and again, were you going to be
You're
able to
gonna
beat
trade
Memphis?
a guy in the name of your fun little.
Were you going to
season.
beat Memphis in the tank off with the guys they were
Bobby
starting
wanted
down the
to have
stretch in
fun.
Utah and etc. It would have been agonizing.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, we wouldn't
hey.
have had 38,000 viewers for the draft
We
show.
would,
on
we
Saturday.
would on
No,
the
probably
lottery
not.
show.
Couple more super chats here. Beginning of the season, I was a tanker believer. Imagine adding AJ. Don't do that. I don't want to talk about it. Gary, this
AJ,
one's for
man.
you. Gary underestimates how delusional JB is.
Hmm.
Look, I didn't say it. The man paid. He gets to have his say. Combs 2000. You couldn't tank this
When he
year realistically,
bounds.
but look at Indiana. Lost Halliburton, went into the tank quick. Adding Halliburton, Zubats, and their pick in the top 4.
They traded their pick for Zubac.
Yeah, they traded a pick. So, but regardless, you saw what happened. I thought the
They
Celtics
have a
could have
pick,
gone the
no,
way of
Bobby?
Indiana.
It's if it falls out of the top 4, like you said, there it goes to the Clippers now. So it was a very risky trade.
I'm with JB. I loved watching this team. So did you guys until they lost. True. Fun season. We enjoyed the hell out of it. Would have been boring as hell. I'd still take the draft pick.
He's saying they went away. They lost because they went away from their bench. Do you agree?
To some degree, they didn't trust it. They didn't develop it. They didn't utilize it in the first round.
Yeah,
It's part of the
let's go-
story.
Let's go back to that one. I'll ask you guys for real.
I
Like
want to know what Gary thinks.
everybody in the history of playoff basketball has shortened their bench when they get to the playoffs. The Celtics are supposed to be the only team ever to continue to play 11 and 12 guys because it worked for them in the regular season. Is that something you think people would have liked in the regular season? Because honestly, if that went sideways early, they go down 0-2 because they're still insistent on playing 11 guys. People would be like, Joe, it's the playoffs. Stop treating it like the regular season. I think it could have easily backfired. I think 5 minutes, 6 minutes from guys to see a little energy. If you get a little energy or change the energy, maybe. But like, did you really expect him to go 10 deep, 11 deep in the playoffs?
I didn't. Like, I don't think that Joe made Joe could have gone a little deeper. I thought he didn't play Shireman enough, and I don't know what happened with Ugo. I thought Ugo provided defensive energy. I just think in the second quarter, I think it's okay. Now, if the guy comes out there and then Philly goes on a 16-0 run and his guy's scoring at will, you pull him. I think you've got to do, especially when you're up early in the series, you're trying to just figure some things out. But game 7, to pull Ugo out the mothballs and Ron Harper, that's just too much. And I don't know. I don't think anybody else was like. I didn't look. It's like you're not going to play the two-way guys. You're not playing Amari Williams. Like, so Harper was kind of the last guy. But I do think you could have played Ugo earlier in the series for some minutes, even in the garbage time when you're up 32 points, right? When you won a 32-point game, just give them some run as opposed to the 10 minutes left in game 6 and then Jason's hurt and you look like you're throwing in the towel. Like, that was weird too. Like, there's a lot of weird things that happened in this series. The lack of adjustments, not being ready for Embiid, throwing in the towel with 10:24 left and you're down.
And he
He
did it last year too. Like, Cornette disappeared into that New York series. Pritchard again. I felt like he was such a pivotal player early in that series, and then they got away from him. Like, I felt the same way about Pritchard at times in this one too.
But
Like, he was
what's weird
a top
is
3 player for them and wasn't utilized like it.
But again, what's weird is it's almost like the relief pitcher that the guy didn't bring in the game. You don't know what would have happened if they played. It's just easy to say, why didn't you play that guy? But like, there are guys
Ugo
who
came into game 7 and was great.
Sure, but then when it rotated over to him and he had 2 corner threes wide open to make him, he missed them because he hadn't played in friggin' forever.
Yeah.
And that's why he and none of the starters could score a bucket because they had to be dusted off from mothballs. So I don't know. I mean, there's certain guys that scare you in the playoffs because you're afraid to go have the other team go on a 15-2 run in the 4 minutes that you're trying to see whether Ugo has it tonight. So I think every coach reacts similarly to that deep bench stuff. A couple more here. In defense of Jaylen and the Jays dedication unquestionable. Come on, guys. Jamal Sheed from Zachariah.
I don't think that's what we
25.
meant.
I think you guys are reading it wrong. Brown always gives Tatum his credit. He just enjoyed being in leadership year. However, it's Tatum who acknowledged how Brown got them there. Yeah, they give each other.
That is true.
They give each other.
Tatum says everybody had an impact.
Everybody had an. Oh, well, how good was Jaylen? Everybody was good. Everybody. X3, they didn't seem that broken up because they know they're happy the change is coming. JB gone. I don't know. John Harrop. At least 80% of the breakup the Jays narrative start with Jaylen quotes that fan the Flames for no reason. Love him, but his ego can be problematic. Sorry, not solid. Sorry. A lot of people read it this way, right or wrong. A lot of people get fed up with it because they think it's like, come on, man, are you trying to get yourself kicked out of here? But
how many times have we said it, John? Fans in Boston are begging for you to embrace the city, the fans.
That's all it takes.
It doesn't take much for us to love you. Just don't give us reasons to pick apart quotes. That's all.
Yeah, it's so easy.
I'll just say this, guys. You know what the team could do? How about putting Jaylen and Jayson on the same poster and going come to Celtic games and having them pose with each other and having it in billboards when you go off 95.
How about this?
Something that says
you got yourself a marketing gig, Gary.
Yes,
what did they do? What did they do with KG? What did they do with KG and Pierce?
Put them at the podium together.
Actually, they tried. They tried with KG, Pierce, and Allen, but then Allen's ego got in the way. They initially had them.
Didn't get his.
They initially had them all speak post game at the same time, and then eventually Ray.
Oh, they would never do that with Brown.
Eventually, Ray dropped off, but KG and Pierce went to the podium after every game together, right away. And so, but Allen didn't because Allen was different. But imagine that
Ray Allen
Brown and Tatum together. That's a simple one. Put them up there on the podium together every single game and just show the solidarity. It'd be such an easy fix, but they won't do that.
Or even promotion, marketing, put them together
anything
as a team where they're come to Celtic games, tickets on where you're looking those are the two guys that as opposed to putting one, things like that.
Send them both to a Dunkin' Donuts, just something like that. Yeah,
Boys and Girls Club, something.
Great content. Been a fan of the show since COVID. Thanks, Hums. Even though I may disagree with some takes, we expect that. But thank you very much for watching. A couple more here. Would have been great. Bay would have been a great fit. Cheap contract. Portis is good, like Gary said. Jordan Goodwin, great defender, energy guy. Torian Prince, another name to throw out there. And one more here. Show me FB. The loss was embarrassing, but I'm also at peace with it because if they had survived Game 7, we saw this team wasn't serious about winning a title. You guys believe that? They're going out in round 2 no matter what?
It looks like it right now.
The Knicks found something against Atlanta.
I'll say this. Based on what Gary told me about the attitudes in the locker room and just it feels like they just weren't – it almost feels like they thought it was a gap year. It's like, oh, you know what? Well, shouldn't have been here anyways. It's like they're almost coping the same way I see Celtics fans coping.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I kind of do feel that way.
Last thing we wanted to talk about because it was weird and it just kind of happened, but the whole Game 7 situation. This is another place where you have Celtics fans super divided here. You got a lot of takes today that Tatum wimped out. You have a lot of other takes that some people speculating. Boy, did they put him at risk bringing him back? Was he close to re-injuring himself? Was this a serious thing? Would he have played in Game 2? Regardless of how you feel about it, and we'll get everybody's opinion here, it was bizarre how it all went down, going from he's playing to not on the injury report at all to probable to out in a very short period of time. And here were Tatum and Mazzulla's comments about the whole situation afterwards.
He just came in today with knee discomfort, and we decided, on the medical team, myself, for him not to play.
One of my legs is still smaller than the other one, and So now that, I get, a long off season to really get back to 110%.
Okay, I guess that's it. But anyway, Tatum talked about it. Joe talked about it. How did this go down, guys? And who do you think was the final decider? Joe said the medical team, but he's always kind of said, I don't know, like, it's Tatum's choice and this and that. Like, you think
Joe said it was him too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
say
you
that.
think you think so? How do you guys think it went down? You think Tatum pulled himself? You think they were like, oh no, we're not risking this? Absolutely not. Everybody kind of came together on it. Like, how did it change so quickly? And have him missing this game?
I think that Tatum might have tweaked something. I think he told Joe after Game 6, "I'm good." Then I think he came in. Then Friday they didn't have anything. He might have went in for treatment on Friday. I think Saturday he came to the arena and was like, "It's gotten worse, and I'm sore." And I think they said, probably talked to some doctors and experts who said he's been overcompensating. Something could happen because let's be honest. If Jayson suffers any type of serious injury playing on a bad leg again, the organization is going to get hammered beyond belief for that. So Don't risk it. Don't let Jayson make the decision. I think the optics of it was Jayson didn't seem broken up about it. And then it was like, well, and Stan, if Jayson doesn't come out and watches the game back, well, he didn't support his teammates. If he comes out and looks kind of like a normal January game where he was hurt, then it looks like, wow, Jayson, you ain't taking this too hard, aren't you? So, I mean, I think the whole thing, and I'm sure Bobby would agree, was bizarre. It went from questionable to out. Like, it wasn't like, well, Jason's going to go out there and shoot because, I think Bobby and I are on the same page here. Like, they shoot right at Jayson and Jaylen shoot together right after, like Mazzulla talks. I think we're probably going to both go out there and watch Jayson work out and see how it went. And they pulled the plug on that before Jayson even hit the floor. So I think it was his people, Joe and Jayson probably said, you know what, I ain't feeling quite right. And why? And maybe we went into the, like, you know what, if we lose, we don't want to risk anything for next year. That's the whole thing. You didn't want to you don't risk anything to touch 26-27.
Yeah. And there was real concern during Game 6. I know what they said after, and Tatum postured like he was playing, but you saw along the sideline, like him just talking to Nick constantly, them being back and forth between the locker room. Like, even during timeouts when he was on the bench, he wasn't getting up and joining it. And you could see some concern on his face there and riding the bike. Like, there's a lot going on there during that game. And I don't know what specifically popped up. I went back and watched the whole game. I couldn't find a specific play where this thing happened, whatever it was. So, there's a couple of things here. We've discussed them, John. Like, it could be, fluid in the back of the knee that's built up here, and it's less of a concern. It could be a calf strain, which, even if they, don't go forward, I mean, even if they were going forward there, like, that probably would have made him miss some extra time. I know he said he felt like he was going to play in the round 2, which I guess makes you feel a little better about this thing. He should be good to go into next year at this point. So it's less of a story than it would have been if they won here. At the same time, like, this is stuff that can pop up now as he continues to recover from this. And he said he was almost surprised something didn't pop up earlier and that felt inevitable.
So that's what I don't like. It's like, what, I was, team, don't play. Like, what are you doing? Like, don't come back. Why are we talking about a return this year? It didn't make sense to me from the get-go, but we also thought the team would be a little bit worse. And I do believe that if they were floundering around 500, Tatum might have looked at it and been like, not worth it. He said it himself. They were good. Yeah. And I kind of wanted to be a part of it because who knows when you get there. But, like, did it seem now, like, I'm in the camp that, like, the idea that he opted out because he was being careful or soft, I think is insane. I think him coming back was a little bit, like, scary, and the whole way through, like, almost like ticking time bomb. Like, I think they're actually pretty fortunate something didn't pop in another leg or something like that from overcompensation, and that they
Jeez,
escaped
John.
that. They escaped that PR nightmare you're talking about, Gary, of something real. I find it hard to believe he would have played in the Knicks series either if there was even the teeniest hint or fear that anything could arise there. So I'm glad they did what they did. Yeah,
I agree,
I'm glad.
John. I'm sorry to cut you off, but we can go back to Joe thing. Joe played him 32 minutes a game when he came back. Like, that's a lot. I don't think any of us envisioned Tatum in those 16 games during the regular season playing 32 minutes a game. And like, that was a lot. I think we thought 10. I mean, I think he played 27 his second game or something like that. Like, he was in the third.
And immediately up into the 31, 32, and then 34, 35. It happened fast.
And he played 36 a game in the first 6 games of the series. So, like, I think, quite honestly, he referenced that and said, I played a lot of minutes. And I think, I don't know if that was a shot at Joe, but I think he was kind of like, yeah, I mean, I put a lot of wear on these tires right away. And maybe that was a Joe thing of just, well, if you can play, I'm going to play you. And maybe Joe should have lightened up a little bit on that, especially in the regular season.
Yeah, I was shocked.
That's fair.
Shocked he played that much in general coming back. And I thought the whole time I was worried about it. Jimmy, sorry, you were going to say?
No, I think that's fair what Gary said. I mean, I think we were all surprised to see the amount of time he was playing. But we're just trusting that that's part of the very detailed recovery plan that I'm sure was all mapped out to the team and the trainers and Tatum and his mom and everybody else who was involved in the whole process and the doc and all that stuff. I think Tatum ultimately had, obviously it's his body. I think he spearheaded himself not playing, and I think that's fine. If he's probably a little bit, as he should be, overly cautious. Maybe the deal was, hey, we're going to keep playing you, but you need to be honest with us. If you're feeling pain anywhere in your body, we need to know, and that's it. And I think as soon as that happened, you got what you got. And maybe he comes back, maybe he doesn't. We'll never know. It's impossible to know how much pain or how stiff or how serious that leg is. I'd like to think that he would have come back in that Knicks series, because I'm operating under the assumption that it wasn't an injury that he sustained. I think it was, whether it was general soreness or general stiffness, it may have something to do with the fact that he's still rehabbing that Achilles back. But if it was the regular season, that's probably a game that he gets off and he gets that extended time to sort of get things back to where they need to be. So I think he would have came back in the Knicks series, but to err on the side of caution with the bigger picture in mind, I think they were hoping that, hey, let's just try to get this win and get to that next series and give him what the rest that he needs right now. It just didn't work out. But I still hold it against him that he's yucking it up with the opponent like 20 seconds after. It's like, dude, you missed the freaking game. You lost a 3-1 series lead and you weren't there to help your team. Maybe like text ha to Embiid about whatever the hell you're yapping about after the game. And I get it. And I understand Gary's point. Fans care more. And that's the part of being a fan. You're short for fanatic, right? And the players, their emotions or what matters, and it's a business now, and blah blah blah, yada yada yada. All that stuff has changed over the last 20 years, and it's just different now. But just can you just like keep that in the back hallways, okay?
I don't want to see it.
I don't want to see it. It's like I don't want to. I know it's happening. I don't want to see it. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
no,
we've been down that road with Tatum a few times now, and I know it drives people crazy, but it's not one of my big concerns.
It's another awareness thing. It is weird.
Yeah.
It's part of being a superstar, whether it's JB's Twitch or Tatum after the game. Like, maybe don't, And again, as we said, the fans take it a lot more seriously than they do. Guys, before we leave, how many blocks do you think Wemby has in the first half of tonight's game? And it's not even halftime.
5.
4.
It is halftime.
6.
7.
8.
Oh,
wow.
gosh.
Unreal.
I pulled
Which
a
I
went
Wemby.
more on
Which
blocks.
I definitely took more, right? Did I? No, I don't think so. Last shout out
You
to
took
Prize
under
Picks
on it.
before we
Yeah.
go. Sign up today. Plenty of time, plenty of action. Whether it's NBA or the hockey playoffs, baseball. Get involved. Download the app Prize Picks. Use code CLNS. Play 5, get 50 in your lineups. A lot of other cool features on there as well. So make sure that you check it out. For sure. Lots of podcasts to get in on here. Celtics Daily with Bobby Manning. You can check that out. That's going to be rolling throughout the off season. You got Boston with Noah Dalzell. Make sure you check out Noah's pod. Big Three. You got two of the big three here right now, Gary and Sherrod. Check out their pod along with NBC's Kwani Lunis. Make sure you're subscribed there. And of course, the Garden Report here. You're here, you know about us, but if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, and if you like it, listen to the audio version, rate, review, all of that good stuff. But we are happy to have you guys here. Thank you guys for hanging out in our first of many postmortems, but the initial, we've had time to breathe. We've had time to think.
Needed this.
This was cathartic. We let some stuff out. Things were
Gary,
said.
you feel better? Will you join us again someday?
I'll join you again, Jimmy. If you're there, I'll be there.
Hell yes.
As long as you still don't have Gino as your Twitter avatar.
I think Twitter got rid of that somehow.
Yeah.
Will you sit with me at the media table next time? dining table?
Jimmy, whenever you come to a game, you can't go to just 2 games a year and then expect to be treated.
He's going on the Metro cred next year.
Yeah.
We're firing Metro back up.
All right. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look for you. I'm coming more games this year, Gary, but I'm sitting right next to you in that media.
Are you still singing or doing the guitar or comedy? Which one are you
gonna
doing?
come to a gig?
You do it.
Yeah, I get no invite.
I do it all, Gary, but I'll tell jokes up there if you want, but it's typically singing.
He's up there. He's like that guy with the harmonica and the tambourine.
Oh, wow.
And playing it all, playing it all at once.
Yeah.
I know I'll be the only.
Show.
I know I'll be the only brother in there, but I'll roll up in there.
No. I'm mixing some R&B just for you.
Me and Sherrod, we'll
Yeah.
come together.
I'm mixing some R&B just for you, Gary. I know that you're an R&B guy.
Do that. I'll be all right. I'll make a request.
He's gonna start
Just for you.
play that at the next gig. Thank you, Bobby Manning. Make sure you check out his stuff, CLNS Media, Sherrod Blakely Substack, and of course, Gary Washburn. Yeah, you got to pay to read him, but it's worth it. Subscribe to the Boston Globe. Find out everything Gary has to say. It's going to be a long off season. There's going to be a lot of stuff, but evil Gary is back, and he's going to be doing some
back.
digging. He's going to
See that evil smirk.
To get the Celtics fans excited, hey, it's 6 weeks before the draft, 2 months before Summer League. And look, there's a name to look out for that could be available is the Stanford point guard, and his name is, let me see here.
Abuka
Okori. He's from Nashua. This dude was blazing fast off the dribble, a score. He should be available. Somebody to look out for.
Nashua.
Yeah, Nashua.
Where I went to high school.
Yeah, he's literally the truth. I saw him play.
I crossed him up, actually.
So Celtic fans start looking at the draft. It'll be a good draft. The Celtics could get a pretty good impact player.
Gary attached himself to that guy like Scal did with Flag.
You see that? You see that?
Yeah.
Scal
I've been watching this
Flag,
guy.
man.
He did. He's my guy. I'm taking all the credit for that. For the rest of the time. Anyway, thank you guys again for hanging out. We do appreciate it. Nice crowd. Thank you for the super chats as well. We will be back. There will be more Garden Reports. We'll try to do another one later this week. In the meantime, all of these guys have you covered with all of your podcasting needs here on the CLNS Media Network. Have a good night, everyone. We'll talk to you guys later.